That's an important mountain.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, November 3rd, 2019. This is your award-winning Gibbo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1187.
This is No Agenda.
Getting the lowdown from the lowlands and broadcasting live from Schiphol Airport, the capital of Gitmo Lowlands, Amsterdam, the Netherlands. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we're throwing our support to Beto O'Rourke. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Craig Bottom Buzzkill in the morning.
What do you mean you're throwing your support? He's gone. He's toast. 86th out of here. You're out.
What?
You know, one of our producers did an analysis of his expenditures, and it appears that he stayed in the race, even with his 3% polling numbers, whatever that means. We don't have to trust him, for an extra couple of months in order to pay everybody, including himself.
He takes his salary for this job of his?
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Was he paying himself? Do we know?
I think it was $400,000.
Wow.
Now, it's not exactly clear from the FEC filings, but that's the extrapolation one of our producers made. And it would make sense. You know, payroll taxes, there's tons of stuff that was paid over the past couple of months with not many other expenditures. But there are also some consultants. It's what you do. I mean, when you're losing, you want to keep everybody, your important people kind of going, I guess.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So I mean,
I do have a couple of clips though.
I'm not ready for that. I got too much to tell you.
Beta.
Yeah, I got too much to tell you. We'll get to Beto. He's toast.
Oh, okay. Well, but don't forget. Don't let me miss Beto.
I will remember.
Because I'm really disappointed that he dropped out. Go on with this.
I know.
You have I saw you just traveled.
Yes.
You took a long trip.
Yes, I took a trip Saturday afternoon, left Austin via Houston to Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
What happened to the Austin-Amsterdam flight?
Oh, that doesn't start until May. That's the KLM direct flight, 4 flights a week. But it's not there yet, so you still have to transfer somewhere. And I'm here at the invitation of a Dutch TV show as they're celebrating 100 years of radio in the Netherlands.
Oh, I thought we were going to say 100 years of the NFL.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, they love the NBA here, too. So, yeah, which is really nice, although they flew me on United. And United's idea of premium economy is row 32 at the exit. And it even says on my ticket, window. Well, there's no window. So it was pretty...
I love the very few seats on a plane, but there are always a couple that have no window.
It was nice, to have the exit row because the seats did actually recline. But it was not economy plus. It was economy, no window is what it was. But this is interesting.
Did you just sleep?
Not very much. Very hard to sleep. No. It's all right. I got into the. I like staying at the airport hotels. I've learned through many, many years of traveling, and I think probably influenced by you, that it's really
I'm a big fan of. I love the airport hotels.
It's really a good idea, especially the Amsterdam airport, because they got everything here. You need some shampoo, no problem. You need a battery, hearing aid battery, no problem.
Yeah. You need a recliner chair. You can get that.
In fact, yes, at the Amsterdam airport, you can buy furniture too. People come here to shop on the land side, not the air side, obviously, but. Check this out. 10 years ago, I went to Houston to get my global entry / pre-check. And I know it was 10 years ago because as I was filling out my known traveler number on my itinerary, I noticed that it expired in September. It's been 10 years since I did the interview, and they did my fingerprints and took my picture, and I think I paid $400 at the time. I don't know if it costs that anymore.
Rip off.
Yeah, more or less. And I still got pre-check. even though it's expired. So I am very excited for the no agenda test. When I arrive back in Austin, I will go straight to the global entry kiosk and see if it accepts me. For I have a hunch, seeing as I got pre-check, I have a hunch that when you come to the customs area, you have kiosks for everybody now, but you have the global entry, which is a separate line. It's it's kiosks for the privileged few who have the global entry. I have a feeling that there may not be much different than a sticker.
Can I guess what you're going to say?
Yeah, go ahead.
They don't update the database.
That's what I'm thinking, and it may even be by design. That someone said, hey, so we got these kiosks here. The same kiosk is over there. But this is supposed to, only have people in global entry. But, we swap out we got to use it for maintenance. We got to put a drive into that one. We got to fix that one. So it's all jumbled up. Why don't we just slap a sticker on it, say global entry? So I can't wait to see if it accepts me upon my return. And then, of course, if it does, we will need another producer who has never had any global entry to just go ahead and go straight to the global entry kiosk. Think of the amount of time this could save our producers.
Yes.
And
we
money.
Have nothing but travel tips on this show.
Yes, travel tips
galore. The reason I like the hotel at the airport, not necessarily all the time, but like in Paris, it's inconvenient. But it's great, especially like I'll check into that hotel the day or a couple of days before the flight out, because getting back to the airport nowadays is always risky. And if you're at the airport when you wake up,
it's beautiful, especially for that 8 a.m. flight. You just roll down the escalator.
You can do a 6 a.m. flight for that matter.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's quiet because everything's so soundproof. And especially Amsterdam, if you're on one side of the city and you need to go to the other side, it will take just as long as going back to your hotel at the airport. The airport's very accessible. In most cases, it's pretty well calculated. It's always 30 minutes from wherever you need to be. Always. In fact, this one's a little bit closer.
We stayed at the airport hotel on your wedding
in Austin. In Austin, which hotel in Austin?
I can't remember. There's two of them at the airport, and I can't for the life of me remember which one. Yeah. The one we stayed at, I think, was probably not the one that stayed at. The other one had an easier entrance. But it was closer to your house than it would be if I stayed in Austin.
It's interesting. The airport is 8 minutes from our house,
yes, right
and
there.
You still were able to show up an hour and a half late. That was fantastic. I don't know how you do it.
I was misinformed.
Yes. Anyway, it's been fantastic to be. So I did sleep a couple hours and then started the prep and set up the studio and everything. Like 3.5 hours sleep. It's fine. But so nice to see Deutsche Welle, France 24, Sky TV, ITV, BBC, the Dutch News. It's so diverse compared to what we have in the United States. It's fantastic. Now, it's all bullcrap, but it's still fantastic to get something different, actual, variety of news stories. And because it's Sunday, a lot of these stories are repeats. So I was able to get a couple of them online since I don't have any gear to jack into the TV system and record. And I need to play these three clips up front because this is so no agenda and so European at the same time, because there is no freedom of speech. It's all lies. Even though they have all these great news channels, it's propaganda. And The Guardian, and this was an interview that I caught, The Guardian has made changes to their style guide when it comes to climate change. And I think it's important for us to play this because it really embodies everything that we point out and have been pointing out for 12 years, with a little twist, because the style guide is not just for the written word, it's also for the photojournalists. and they are changing stuff over at The Guardian.
Yeah, well, it was really prompted in the first instance by the fact that The Guardian felt that we needed to change our language around the way we were talking about these stories. It seemed that our environmental journalists were reporting a much more kind of serious level of tone from scientists. So we discussed that what we were kind of dealing with really was not just climate change, but actually a kind of a catastrophic crisis. So what we realized was it was no longer appropriate to have quite kind of benign or passive images that went with this kind of serious change in tone. So, you know, kind of historically, we had perhaps used pictures of polar bears on melting icebergs, etc. And, you know, the picture of the polar bear feels like something that's quite remote and doesn't necessarily affect, you know, the human being reading the story at home.
And so what kind of images did you feel would have a bigger effect if you were to use?
Okay, well, it really is about human engagement. And so the effects of the climate change and the climate crisis on human beings became a more sort of appropriate way of illustrating these stories. So it is about the kind of the direct effect on human beings. So what we started to show in that case was, you know, kind of people who were sort of suffering from the effects of desperate pollution, or the torment of people who'd lost their homes in wildfires, and it just kind of gives the illustration a much more of an immediate effect, and it's much more active, I would say.
I find this so fascinating that this woman is, and she's the I think editor at large, that she actually feels that you have a story about climate change and then you put a random picture of people suffering from wildfires, and that's journalism. That's what she's calling it. That's not journalism. Photojournalism is, here's a village that got bombed. Show the village that got bombed.
No.
Talk about a cup of coffee.
You're living in the past, my man.
Well, wait until you hear the changes in language.
So you want them to have more of an emotional impact.
Indeed, yes. I mean, getting the
journalism, let's get an emotional impact.
Emotional tone right is absolutely critical.
How does this compare to, or how does this complement what you've changed in the style guide of The Guardian?
So the language that we're using is much more active, I would say. And again, you know, it's less benign, it's less passive. The phrase climate change is quite passive compared to a catastrophe for humanity or a crisis. We also changed the phrase global warming, again, which sounds quite cozy, to global heating, which is a bit more sort of severe and sincere. So it did feel that to kind of use pictures of, you know, very appealing creatures was not entirely appropriate with this kind of change in tone.
Sounds more like editorial to me than journalism. It may just be me. I may be old-fashioned.
I'm surprised they don't insist on it, which there was a joke about this I don't know, decades ago, because there was a couple of magazines that would talk about droughts, and they'd always have the some cattle skull in the middle of the desert. Just a shot of that.
Just exactly. Like you always have to have a shot of a single tennis shoe next to a mass shooting. Mass shooting tennis. Now, surprisingly, and this I think is kind of a European thing, the interviewer actually said, "Hey, isn't this propaganda?" I was floored.
Well, as well-intentioned as this might be, at what point does this cross the line from journalism to propaganda?
Propaganda, I think, is probably quite an extreme accusation.
But no, I guess because of using emotional images in order to provoke a certain effect would be how propaganda would work. Do you want to say advocacy? What point do you cross the line away from journalism to advocacy, propaganda, or whatever word you might want to use?
Well, I think what we have to do is stay really close to what the science is telling us and how our journalists are interpreting that. And if we do that, then we are being being kind of accurate and appropriate in the images that we select. What we need to do is kind of be accurate in, and sincere about the tone of the journalism.
So when you use catastrophe for humanity instead of climate change, you feel that is being more accurate as opposed to being sensationalized?
I think, honestly, that our journalists here do believe that this is a catastrophe, and this is why we've changed the language. And it's also been described as a climate crisis by the United Nations Secretary General. So it's becoming a kind of an accepted theme. But again, it is based on, the science that our journalists are interpreting.
John, as a journalist, does a journalist interpret science? Is that how a journalist goes about?
Report, period.
She said interpret multiple times in that.
I know she said interpret a lot.
I mean,
I don't know what she's talking about. I mean, maybe the new style is that way. It's possible things have changed. I don't know. Well, I don't know what she's talking about personally. I know that she said do believe instead of believe.
Yeah, well,
so there's some element there of insecurity.
Yeah, it's important that we It's important that we realize this. I mean, I am susceptible to it all the time. You don't really think about, what's that image on that website that I'm reading this bull crap story? But those images, they speak 1,000 words. It's it's the gurgle way.
Well, that was the most disgusting clip you could possibly come up with. I'm not even going to consider it for clip of the day because it's so depressing.
I'm sorry, but that's what's going on. That's why people need their no agenda show, I think.
Well, yes, that is an element, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So since I wanted to do my Beto clips,
yes, you don't.
I'm going to skip the intro.
Move on, yeah,
because this will be funnier. Because instead of playing the announcement that Beto quit, which I think I have a couple of versions of that, but it's not important. It's not important. Let's just go to Trump making the announcement for us in a two-parter.
Yeah, okay.
And so this way now he's in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yes.
Regaling the crowd, a massive crowd audience. Of course, this is in the face of the top stories. You're talking about the diversity of news over there. Top story wherever you go, Canada, United States. You look to Google News. The top story is always poll. Half of voters have already decided against Trump in 2020.
Oh no, I've seen that here. I think they have it at 51% here. We've tipped it over in the Europes.
Good. Well, here's Trump living it up in his dying days as a president, regaling the crowd with stories of Beto.
Did you hear? Beto, did you hear? Beto. Oh, that poor bastard. Well, poor pathetic guy. He was pathetic. Remember, the arms are flailing. It's all. Remember that? He ran against Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz won. He spent almost $100 million, and Ted Cruz and I helped Ted, and we campaigned together, and it was good. But I used to watch him. Then when he came onto the really big stage, this crazy stage, I noticed he was flailing with the arms, and he was standing on tables. He was standing on countertops. I said, does he ever stand on the floor and speak? But he's waving his arms and going crazy, and I said, what the hell is he doing? What is he on? And you remember he made the statement that he was born for this. Anybody that says he was born for this, they're in trouble. I used to have guys come into my office, sir, I'm the greatest salesman. Nobody can sell. The truth is, anybody that says they're a great salesman, usually they're not a very good salesman. That's true. It's those sneaky ones in the back that don't talk, that you don't know about. They're the ones. But Beto was nasty. And he said that he was born for it. Like he was born from heaven. He came down. And if that's the case, some really bad things happened because he made a total fool out of himself.
It was interesting how many people took exception to Trump calling Beto a bastard. and I'm like, did you? Because Trump by coincidence I went back and I saw a Letterman interview from 2013. I saw a Jay Leno interview from 98, and Trump has always been eye for an eye. And I think he actually went pretty easy on Beto, because Beto called Trump a racist, over and over again.
Beto was over the top.
White supremacist. I'm sure he threw in some KKK there. So, that's what you get. And I thought it kind of came off as humorous.
Most of the clips from this, they cut out the part about the salesman and him coming down from heaven and all the rest. I've noticed that this is right from the speech.
Which I'd like to add something to the salesman. I think you agree with me that if someone is looking for a sales job, you always got to check their shoes. Great salespeople wear brown shoes. Always.
That's a good point. Well, yeah.
It's a fact.
Yeah, they do.
It's a fact.
Well, so let's listen to part 2 where he summarizes and gets out of here. This is a shorter clip.
He came out of Texas, a very hot political property, and he went back as cold as you can be. So he was a nasty guy. But he had a couple of policies that don't work well in the state of Texas, right? He was against religion. He was against you having a gun.
Whoops.
And he was against oil. So you come from Texas, you don't like religion, you don't like oil, and you don't have guns. I don't know, that's not a good combination in the state of Texas. That's not good in Mississippi either. I don't know, is that good? Is that good anyway? No, he went back home to Texas, and hopefully we won't be hearing about him for a long time.
And I think he was unelectable after all the gun stuff. That just doesn't fly in the United States. I mean, it's been tried many times. It just doesn't work.
It does not work.
Do you have anything on Elizabeth Warren? Because I have a comment on her electability at this point. Do you have any? I don't have any clips, but I have a comment.
I don't think I have any Warren clips for this show.
Well, so she came out and she said, all right, you've badgered me enough. And by the way, it was mainly mainstream media. I saw MSNBC kept badgering her, and they have their own reasons for that. Like, how are you going to pay for this? Because I guess she got it down to only $52 trillion over a 10-year period. Which is, about twice as much as we actually bring in tax receipts at the moment. And there's all this, she's going to do it like this, and we'll get this from that and over here, and the New York Times is breaking it down. But I just want to ask 2 very simple questions, because we've looked at this before. First of all, she has said 2 things. She has said, I'll get it from the top 1%. They'll be paying tax. So the top 1%, and I guess that's based upon salary. I'm not quite sure.
No, it has to be based on wealth.
Yeah, but I'm talking about what she's saying.
Okay.
She's not saying wealth. She's saying top 1%, and that has to be earners. But that really varies. I mean, in Kansas, the top 1% salary is starts at $375,000, whereas in Mississippi it's $100,000 less. Is that just for one person, or is it household income if you're filing jointly? That's not explained. But the one that gets me every single time, and this is why I kind of brought it up, because I remember us researching this. When anyone says, I won't raise taxes on the middle class, I say, please define middle class. We did this with Obama. There is no definition of middle class. There is no salary range. There's nothing that is set in stone as an economic indicator of what is middle class. Do you remember we looked at that?
Yeah, we did, and and not only that, but the middle class has had bracket creep.
But what is the middle class? I mean, to me, the middle class is pretty much everybody who's not living on the street. That's the way it's seen. There's no cutoffs. There's no number. Is it 35,000? Is that the working poor? Is it where? Well, is
I think that Obama kind of defined it as anyone making up to $250,000.
But I think we went through this bracket creep discussion the last time we did this. Explain it again.
Well, what's happened? There was a thing I tweeted it. I should have put it in the newsletter. It's a 1971 sign of the cost of goods, or a list of the cost of goods, where milk was like 25 cents, and there's you could buy McDonald's hamburgers for 15 cents. Everything was about 1/10 of what it is today. And in 1971, your average salary of the person making it was $10,000 a year. It was the average. Mm. And so as we've gone since the 70s, we had this huge issue with inflation. Most of what the numbers, if you look at the numbers from the 70s, or even go back earlier where gasoline was 25 cents a gallon, everything kind of went up by a factor of 10. But the tax brackets didn't change. So if you're making $10,000 a year and paying taxes on $10,000 a year in the old IRS bracket system, you are now making $100,000 a year, and you're paying rich man's taxes. So you're being overtaxed. And this is one of the reasons that these tax structures have changed so drastically, where they used to comment, the rich people used to always pay 90%. But that type of rich is mega rich today, and they're still paying a lot. The whole thing, it's just all screwed up because of inflation and the way the system works. And that's what's called bracket creep, where you're still living the same exact standard of living, right? But you've crept into upper brackets so far as income tax is concerned, and so you're actually losing out,
right? Also, your burger is going to go up in 50% in cost with the Impossible Meat craze. You pretty soon you won't be able to get a regular burger.
No.
The Pew, from the Pew Research, defines the middle class as those earning between 2/3 and double the median household income. The Pew classification means the category of middle income is made up of people making somewhere between $40,500 and $122,000. I don't think that's right.
Why?
I think 40,000 is. I don't think you're middle class at 40,000.
In Mississippi?
Well, another good point. It depends on where you are. In Austin, 40,000 is tough.
Well, so it's also tough in New York and San Francisco.
Yeah, I know, but it's Austin.
Well, there's no reason. Yeah, well, Austin is an outlier.
But again, that's So how do you define the middle class? You can do it by state, but Austin's different from Houston. Houston's different from East Texas.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know why you're so preoccupied with this.
Because you can't just make a blanket statement that I won't tax you if you're middle class if you don't know what middle class is.
You can make a blanket statement.
No, you can make it, but when it comes down, she's doing a numbers game. That's my point. Here's how I'm going to pay for it, and she has all the numbers except what the middle class is.
Who are you talking about now?
Elizabeth Warren, how she's going to pay
the bull crap artist of all the candidates.
I'm just pointing out that.
Are you stunned by this?
No, what I'm trying to say is that the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, everyone's all in the numbers, and we'll get this and we'll lower that. Whereas the elephant isn't in the room is the definition of who she's going to raise taxes on. That's my point.
Climate crisis.
But I'm sure she has a plan for that. Anyway, I think she's completely unelectable. When you put a $52 trillion number on the table, you're not going to get elected. Don't you think?
Well, Biden was on PBS with Judy. Mm-hmm. And I was hoping to get something decent out of it. I got one good clip. I got 4 clips. One of them's decent.
Okay.
But it's Biden going on, and he's talking about, about Warren's plan. And let's see if we can find it in here. Let's go with the Biden on PBS. And I'm sorry that this is going to be a minute and 37 seconds that
we'll never
you'll
get back.
never get back. What's that phrase you always use?
Yeah. No, it's all right. I'll tell you after we play it.
Let's start with impeachment. This is an historic week of the House vote. You are one of the few people who was around for both the Nixon impeachment and the Clinton impeachment. You know the seriousness of this. So my question is, do you believe that the focus should narrowly be on Ukraine and the conversation about you, investigating you, or should it be broader to include the Mueller report, potential financial impropriety?
I think it has to include it all. Look, this is, as you know, Judy, an impeachment is a difficult thing for a country to go through, even the impeachment process. And it's not like you look forward to that. But, you know, there are potential significant violations of constitutional responsibility. And the House has no choice but to move forward. And I think it has to look at all the things that they said they were going to look at, because I said at the outset,
all the things.
All the things, yes. I mean, the financial impropriety, the actions of, what they've laid out. I think they have an obligation to do that under the Constitution, and it could be difficult, but I think they have no choice, as the Constitution requires it.
So that's different from the House approach. Right now they're saying narrowly Ukraine. So I want to get your clarification.
Whatever they decide to do is for them to decide to do. But there are other areas that he has stonewalled, the administration has stonewalled, including the Mueller report and possible conflicts of interest.
Report.
But look, their job is to take on their constitutional responsibility. My job, if I'm nominated, is to beat him.
Oh, that's a minute, 37 seconds of my life I'll never get back again. That's what you're looking for. But that was pretty good. It was It was actually pretty good. You know, well, yes.
I'm glad you thought so.
I looked at in fact, one of our producers put a little cheat sheet together for me for this resolution that they passed. And now this may be exactly the same as when Republicans were impeached, Democrats were impeached. I don't know. The people say it is. I haven't had the time to look at it, but in this process, in this resolution, which is not law, it's not a bill. It's just it was an agreement on, and it was an agreement because all the Republicans voted against it, so it was completely partisan. But here's how it will and will not work. The executive branch, that's the president, will not be permitted to participate in the open hearing. His lawyers will not be permitted to question witnesses in open hearings. The ranking member, so that's the on the Republican side, I think it's Devin Nunes. He will have subpoena power, which means he can force someone to come and testify, but that is subject to pre-approval by Chairman Adam Schiff.
He doesn't have, you're right, which means he doesn't have subpoena power.
No, of course he doesn't. He'll only have it if he comes down, if Schiff says yes. But here's the one that caught my eye. The chairman, that would be Schiff, can allow contracted legal staff to question witnesses as part of his 90 minutes of available questioning. So he'll bring in contracted counsel from the Lawfare Institute. Now, these guys, we've talked about them before, but it's a long time ago. I don't know, like 2.5 years. They're the ones who have always been behind this legal strategy with the Mueller report, and I think they're at it again here. These are very, very tricky mofos. This Lawfare group, for a couple of years I've been reading about the Lawfare strategy, but it's the Lawfare Institute, and I think it's Kramer, Levin, Naftalis, and Frankel, and there's also Brookings Institute, and this guy Norm Eisen, who was former ethics counsel to President Obama. So it's a very slick group of lawyers who will be. So forget these idiot representatives. They're going straight to the shark lawyers who are going to be doing the examination. That's a change. That's what they tried to do with Kavanaugh, I think, which kind of fell flat. The Republicans tried it, and then it turned into a stupidity match. Remember, you had that lawyer woman or the prosecutor who asked the questions because it had to be sensitive.
Yeah, vaguely. Well, that's why a lot of people are refusing to go in.
And they don't have to yet because it's not Or,
no,
maybe
they don't have to.
Or do they? Maybe,
it's a bluff. They don't have
wait. Don't they? So here's a question. If it's not an actual impeachment, are the subpoenas enforceable by law?
No, not according to
That's what I thought too. The
Giulianis of the world.
so trustworthy.
Well,
that's where I take my legal advice
he's
from.
The same. He's just the opposite of those other guys.
Of course. Of the lawfare.
Operator.
Of course. Yeah, so sad. All right, let's do some more, Joe. I can handle it.
I'm surprised. All right, well, let's go on with Joe. Now, by the way, I will mention, he says, fact of the matter, the end of the
here's
day,
the deal.
But mostly, look. And he's saying look so much. I mean, I only caught a piece of the whole thing. I didn't clip the whole thing because you'd get sick of it after a while. Look. So let's go to, this is a shorty. This is a 17-second clip. This is about part 2.
The phone call between the President Trump and the president of Ukraine. Now that there are White House aides saying that there was material left out of the transcript of that call, do you believe the president is involved in a cover-up?
Yes.
All right, we got that on record. Cover-up.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, on to 3.
Look, you have some of the finest people in the administration feeling they have to come forward and say exactly what they heard and what they knew. The idea that someone would invite a foreign power into our election and in the process withhold, apparently, the allegation from some within the administration who heard the conversations, withhold vital aid, military aid, voted for by the Congress, while Ukrainians are dying in the Donbass, that is the eastern Ukraine, in order to take on Russians who are there still killing these people, is just, it's one of the things that no president I'm aware of has ever thought of doing.
Whatever.
I saw this, George Webb, he does those videos that if you don't follow along, you have to go back 13 hours to figure out what the hell he's talking about. And he's really good, but I just don't have the time in my life to watch every video he does every day. But he's making connections between this Leonid Vindman, the decorated soldier, and who has a twin brother, by the way, who is in high finance, and in fact so high that his firm has been fined over $1 billion for improper financial transactions. But the more I look at it, Ukraine appears to be, and I'm just taking this George Webb information in with it. And you have to go look. I put it in the show notes, but you really have to go back and focus. And this goes all the way back to Putin coming in and fighting on the eastern Ukraine front, and then taking repatriating a part of Ukraine. It seems that all of the scams that we saw in the Middle East, and I mean all of them, we're talking Libya, we're talking Syria, Afghanistan, probably even African regions as well, but that they were running, I will say they, and that would be mainly the State Department, they were running guns for drugs, most likely, through Ukraine. And it's exactly like Iran-Contra. And I don't have a lot to base this on other than just what I've put together, thinking about what I'm hearing people say. And it makes so much sense. It was so important when Putin put one foot into Ukraine. The State Department went ape shit. They went in, they put snipers in, they killed people, they installed a whole new government. They did it. I mean, they named the people. Vicky Newland, they put the people in. Joe Biden came over to midwife the deal. It was all, Victoria Newland's phone call. And the money, it seems, or as George Webb would call the rat lines, was was coming for they have weapons going into all these different places where we wanted strife, we wanted the Arab Spring, we wanted shit to happen. We funded groups like in Syria with ISIS. And in return, drugs came back, and maybe that's part of the fentanyl crisis. I don't know. But Ukraine, for some reason, take it back to the origins of CrowdStrike, what Trump was asking the new Ukrainian president about with corruption. I think Ukraine is ground zero for a lot of shenanigans.
Well, I can see that, but I think your old thesis, which would have been oil pipelines.
Well, no, but ultimately that's what the result is. Why do you want the strife for the oil and for the pipelines more for the oil? I'm saying before that, just to get everything going, and Syria is in most recent memory, we had to fund a group in there, and that turned into ISIS. But that was to stop the Iran pipeline and give preference over the Qatari pipeline. I mean, it's all there, and it just seems like everything flowed through Ukraine.
Yeah, well, it's right butted up against. It would be a major. It's like a choke point.
Yes.
Yeah. Now let's go to finish off this the clippage.
Thousands of sealed indictments will prove what I'm saying, John. Don't worry.
They will.
What does that do to?
Oops, sorry.
By the way, before you play that clip, I just want to make an announcement. I want the fact checkers to jump all over this because I know they won't. They would if it was Trump, but they won't say anything about the bull crap that continues from Joe Biden.
Look, you have some of the finest people
on both sides
in the administration feeling they have to come forward and say exactly what they heard and what they knew. The idea that someone would invite a foreign power into our election and in the process withhold, apparently, the allegation from some within the administration who heard the conversations, withhold vital aid, military aid, voted for by the Congress, while Ukrainians are dying in the Donbass, that is the eastern
You're playing
Ukraine.
the same clip.
Well, I'm glad you figured it out after 30 seconds. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just so happy to hear him say, look.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let's go to clip 4 about George Washington.
What does that do to future presidents? If we have another person like Trump, give a green light. The one thing George Washington, in fact, warned us about in his farewell address was republics fall because of intervention from foreign powers in our electoral process.
Well, he finally corrected himself and said farewell address instead of inaugural address. Hello?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, he did discuss it. He never mentioned republic. By the way, Washington never said republics fall. We were like the only republic, really, of any importance at the time. Even in the fair, it wasn't the farewell. I have to go back and look.
No. It was because I remember very well. This is only a couple of shows ago. He was talking about his inaugural address, and then you had me put in the show notes his inaugural address, Washington's, which had no mention of it.
He did make the correction,
and now he's
even in the farewell address, he didn't put it like that.
Well, no, but it's popular to say the founding fathers, our founders, and they put their lives on the line for this Constitution.
And then inviting a foreign government. Does anybody take this seriously on the Democrat side? Yes, they do. I listen to the libjos. Somehow Ukraine, really, which is, if anything, is a podunk country compared to almost any Eastern European country. What are they going to do? They're going to come over here. They're going to set up shop. I mean, I don't get it.
Why is everyone so upset about this military aid, which I think in this case was just money? It's not what was mentioned in the call, at least according to the transcript.
Money so they could buy more stuff.
Well, hold on a second. Was it? I haven't seen the actual purchase order. Maybe it was money that was owed to them for shit they did for the elites in the State Department. Maybe that's why everyone's all pissed off. Or crap, we need that money to go in.
That could be so they can get their money so they could bribe.
Yes. It's part of the system. There was a payoff and Trump was holding it up. They don't care about Ukraine. They care about themselves. I have nothing to base this on other than it sounds a hell of a lot like Fast and Furious, Iran-Contra. We have a history of this.
By the way, by the we. So I just wanted to make sure I did have a Trump ISO for after I did that thing on Beto. I want to check it out to see if it's usable.
Okay, we'll check it out now.
What is he on?
Done. It's good. It's already in the final slot. Can't go wrong with that. Perfect. I did pick up a Joe Gaff. It's a shorty. I take exception with something else other than what he says. You may have seen this. What Joe is trying to tell you is that the Paris Climate Accord is very important, and we should re-enter that. But what comes out?
I'm going to make sure that we rejoin the Paris Peace Accord on day one, and I'm going to announce within the first 100 days, those 173 nations are going to come and meet in Washington, D.C. to up the ante.
So instead of...
Wait, from 1917?
No, the 1973, the peace accord was...
The 73 peace accord from Vietnam?
Yes. But what I take offense to is, what the fuck is this, Jay? Why do you say it like this? Who is running his campaign?
I'm going to make sure that we rejoin the Paris Peace Accord on day one.
Vote for me for president. You won't regret it. Come on.
I had a Biden gaffe that was... where he says he's in Ohio when he's in Iowa. But the problem is it was the same sound problem, only this time it sounded like he was in a bucket.
It's one channel. It's on one channel, and it's overmodulated. Either he's got to back off the mic, or someone's got to... I mean, who is running that show?
Some drunk.
Remember we had the video where a chip-in appeal, it sounded like he was in the Home Depot bucket on an iPhone, shot in the corner somewhere. This is not a serious campaign.
Apparently not.
It's not. It's not. Now, where's Hillary? I'm getting a little tired now of waiting. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, she only has a few days left before she can't file for a couple of these primaries.
And I think you said on show 1177... which is...
I gave her till November 1st before I pulled the plug on my prediction.
Yeah, you did give us a November 1st date. You're going to hold on until the 7th?
Yeah, just... She's gone into silent running. I mean, it's like she's in a sub or something. I mean, what happened? Did she have a faint?
No, well...
She have a spell? Oh, I've got the vapors!
She's still doing the rounds. She was on Trevor Noah's show, The Daily Show. And Trevor Noah did everyone quite a service, I feel, and I appreciated what he did, and I thought it was very funny and good that he brought that out.
Hillary, I have to ask you a question that has been plaguing me for a while. How did you kill Jeffrey Epstein? Because you're not in power, but you have all the power. I really need to understand how you do what you do. Because you seem to be behind everything nefarious, and yet you do not use it to become president. What is the game plan?
Well, Trevor.
By the way, if you watch this interview, and you should watch it, the lighting is so bad for her. You can see the surgery. And what she has from she has those kind of puffy cheeks. That is all filler. You can see the incisions. The filler goes from under that puffy cheek all the way back to her ear on both sides. And you can actually see the line where it's either part incision or it's injected. And it's swollen, and it looks red, and the lighting was not good for her.
But honestly, though, what does it feel like being the boogeyman of the right?
Well, it's a constant surprise to me because the things they say, and now, of course, it's on steroids with being online, are so ridiculous beyond any imagination that I could have. And yet they are so persistent in putting forth these crazy ideas and theories. Honestly, I don't know what I ever did to get them so upset. But a lot of them live to come up with these conspiracy theories. And, I've gotten kind of used to it. It's been going on for a number of years.
Now, many people saw this clip, and you probably didn't hear the first part. You just saw the little meme part, which is funny. And then, of course, what goes out in right-wing conservative circles is, oh, she left. Well, of course, the whole thing was a joke and a setup. But you never heard what Chelsea said. Chelsea said something. She's sitting right next to her. Usually she doesn't say anything. But she had her own little Clinton body count story.
But I also think it's because it is effective. Like, I'll never forget reading an article after the 2016 election.
Listen to her talk. You're going to love this. I'll never forget. I'll never forget
Reading an article after the 2016 election where the reporter interviewed someone who had been an undecided voter, and he said, he thought my mom had won all 3 debates.
Listen to the cadence.
Voter, and he said, he thought my mom had won all 3 debates. She clearly had a greater command of the subject matter, and yet he just kept reading that she had murdered more than 50 people. And he said somewhat nonchalantly, like, I don't think that she murdered 50, but like, what if she murdered 2? And so you just think it's this like constant erosion of truth and sanity.
Uh-huh. I think that's very fair what the guy said. Yeah, I don't know about 50, but 2, yeah, I can buy 2. And the cool thing is now, and this is everywhere, the meme is loose. For a while, Howard Stern, he has Gary Delabate as producer, and it became, in the 80s and 90s, it became a thing for people to call into television shows, talk shows, radio shows, and then somewhere you just had to throw in Baba Booey, and then it was funny. And then Stern would play it, and so people would get onto all these talk shows with very serious questions, and then just start throwing Baba Booey in, and everyone would get all pissed off and hang up, and Well, now this is happening with Hillary. This is Waters' World on Fox. And I think it's a military guy with a military dog.
He's to your left there, and I'm sure he's ready to go out on the next mission, and he can't wait. So thank you, and thank Nero for your service. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. If I could I throw a PSA out real quick?
Real quick.
Just the remarkable nature of these dogs and them being highlighted in the news creates a huge demand by people that frankly shouldn't have them. If you see the coverage and you decide I want one of these dogs, either buy a finished trained, fully trained and finished dog from a professional, or just don't get one at all. And Epstein didn't kill himself.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that commentary. All right.
People are doing it everywhere now. It's just, you got to just say, before I go, Epstein didn't kill himself. We just got to throw that in there. It's great. I think it's fantastic. Thank you. Welcome back, America. We're funny again. I'm liking that.
That's cute.
Yeah. No,
well, the Hillary thing is disconcerting, and I will take a look at that because lighting, professional lighters can do anything they want with you. You have to. It's like one of the groups of people in broadcasting you have to make friends with.
Oh yeah, lighting and sound. So
the lighting
Joe
guys
didn't
can
do
make
that.
you look like crap.
Joe didn't talk to the sound guy. Didn't make nice with him.
I don't know. It doesn't sound like he's even got a sound guy.
Mr.
Some
Microphone.
high school kid.
Mr. Microphone.
I got some Radio Shack gear.
Oh, since they're out of business.
It was on sale. It was on sale at the auction.
It's called Realistic. What was their other brand? What was Radio Shack's other brand? You had Realistic.
They had two brands. Well, somebody in the chat room will know.
Yeah, well, maybe the trolls will know. Yeah.
The troll room. Sorry.
Yeah. By the way.
Okay, go on.
No, go ahead. I'll come back to it. Oh, Tandy, and then, but there was another one.
Tandy was the leather company that owned radio.
They owned it, right? But they had another brand on their stereos. No, I can't think of it. It'll come to me.
Yeah, they did, because they had some speakers with this name on it. Like it was Optimus or something along those lines.
Worse. Worse. Yeah, realistic was their. No, it was their high end. Their high end audio.
High end.
that just going back to the impeachment resolution. Nancy Pelosi came out, and it bothered me, and I couldn't quite figure it out, and I looked it up on the plane. United does have Wi-Fi. Go figure.
Not all the planes.
Well, okay. But Delta doesn't, so they don't have that. So she came out and, she did her spiel like everybody else did. But I told you, I think on the last show, she came out with an easel, and then the guy turned the board around, and it was an American flag. And it bothered me, and I couldn't figure it out, and I went back and looked. This thing, I mean, I don't know if there's actual rules, but it was disgusting what she did. If you think about standing there, I'm all about the Constitution, the rule of law, Viva America. The flag had 15 stripes, had a almost 1-to-1 ratio instead of the approved 1-to-5 ratio. You should really take a look at this. I mean, it's a minor nitpick, but if you're going to put a flag next to you, why not make it look like the American flag? It had a white border at the top, a white border at the bottom, which was the same height as all the stripes. It's supposed to have 13 stripes, but it had 15, at least it looked like it, with one stripe above the stars even, and it was a 1-to-1. It wasn't 1-to-5.
Huh. That's interesting.
And I don't know if that's just a dumb mistake, because visually it's You know how it's the flag has a certain look to it, and you're familiar with the dimensions. And it wasn't. Why not just use a flag? Why did it have to be a printed thing? It was strange. I don't know if there's some subliminal message to it or not, but I just wanted to say I didn't like it. It didn't feel right.
I want to play this clip that says just before we completely leave Biden behind.
Mm-hmm.
So Hunter Biden showed up on GMA, Good Morning America.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the women, they're the one with the jaws. I can't remember her name. She's a good interviewer, and she went and interviewed him and she did kind of can't say it was a nasty interview. She was very skeptical. I don't have the whole interview. I just have the part where she interviews his wife, Melissa Cohen, a South African woman he married just recently.
Ah, she's a hottie too. Yeah, what are you doing?
I don't think so.
No, I saw a picture.
She's photogenic, but when you see her and listen to her, and especially when you see her, she's not telegenic, that's for sure, and she's not a hottie by any means. And she is extremely elite in the way she speaks, and both her and it was very noticeable. Both her and Hunter Biden's teeth were so
white,
phony white, they were blue. Where you go beyond white,
yeah,
and you start to pick up ultraviolet tones,
like that one time Ross on Friends. Yes, we all know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like, what happened?
Things have not been easy.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, play it.
Things have not been easy externally.
The 33-year-old filmmaker from South Africa stepping into the spotlight for the first time in this exclusive interview.
They've been harder than most people could ever even imagine.
But internally, things have been amazing. And it's only tested our bond, could just solidify how strong the bond really is.
What is the truth about Hunter?
He's wonderful and caring and kind, and he very much cares about his country and his family.
Yeah.
She goes on and on like this.
Yeah, honestly,
talking through her teeth. She talks through her teeth.
Yeah, I read about her and about how they met, and it sounded to me, and I'm just throwing it out, allegedly, etc. But it sounded kind of like they were Coke buddies, kind of. Like that's kind of how they met.
The interviewer from GMA, she did confront Hunter about this, and he really got irked about her.
Oh, really?
And she stayed with it.
What about the cocaine?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have.
She says you've been in rehab like 70 times. So wait a minute, and then they go back and forth a little bit. It was quite good. Probably should have clipped it, but. I was more interested in this woman that talks to her teeth, and with this very elitist kind of thing, a bond, and they're bonded.
But isn't she like a TV producer, or
She's a
documentary?
documentarian.
Yeah, documentarian. Exactly. Documentarian. Oh well, I think the less Hunter says, the better off everybody is. Probably.
I will say this: you can tell that he's one of those charmers.
Okay.
And he's got the Joe Biden smile.
Yeah.
And he's a charmer. He can probably he's probably pretty good at sales. To quote Trump.
Check the shoes. Make sure they're brown. We made some fun of dropping the T's. I got a note from an anonymous linguistics professor from a well-known university on the West Coast, who asked to be kept anonymous. And now it was kind of interesting from a linguistics...
If he's at a university, he has to be anonymous.
Of course he does. He doesn't want to get in trouble. I think he's pretty young, too. He's only been... he only had his PhD for a couple of years. But he says that... Well, he was trying to give us a warning, and he did start right off by saying, hey, just so you know, these are not intended as accusations or attacks. But he said, as a background, I have a PhD in linguistics. I'd be happy to follow up. We did have a back and forth, but he said that, I'll read from it. No agenda deals so much with language. I thought I would send a note of caution regarding how certain types of speech are ridiculed / highlighted on the show. Oh, yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. Languages change and evolve inevitably. What dialect is correct, standard, or prestigious is related to political, sociological factors and are not an objective standard of correctness. Now, and I'm going to pause here for a second because I did go back and forth with him. He thought that the way I responded that I was defending an attack and I was pissed off, which I wasn't, because he said right up front, it's not an attack. But what I was concerned about is here is a linguistics professor who listens to No Agenda, who is stating these things as fact. And that's what he's been taught, and that's what he's studied on. So I just disagree with everything. He goes on, the reason I'm a bit concerned is that most of the speech that is targeted for ridicule is generally associated with female or non-white speakers. And of course, he says immediately, I do not believe that you are sexist or racist, at least no more than any of us are. That pissed me off. Most of these attitudes about language are subconscious, but still present. And he says,
I want to stop. I don't want to stop to read, but I want to stop right away. Because, for example, in today's show, we have been ridiculing someone who says, look, all the time.
Who is
and
an
is that
old
a
white
female?
Guy. No. Well,
is that a female?
I made this point to him, and I'll tell you what he came back with. But I want to continue because the learning, what he's been taught, is in his original note. He says, I don't think much of this humor will age well in the next few years, which, by the way, is kind of insulting to say that. That's what when you go back and say, well, this tweet aged well. It's like, okay. I don't think much of this humor will age well in the next few years as people become a bit more aware of the science. In other words, and I like this guy because we went back and forth. I'm fine with him. I'm not angry at him. I'm sad about what he's been taught, what he thinks is science, what he's been told. I don't know. I'm not a professor, but it's according to him, it's science. I think that type of commentary might be alienating or offending more people than you think. Or at least I predict it will become more salient in the near future. Making fun of a non-native English speaker who is Dutch is very different than making fun of a non-white immigrant in the U.S. or elsewhere. For the hypothetical, I do the Dutch thing. So
I know that, but I don't see if one's not offensive. Why is one offensive and one
exactly? Like many of the topics you discuss on the show, oil, media, etc., language is a major tool of power international. Listen to this. This is important. Like many of the topics you discuss on the show, language is a major tool of power internationally, and English plays a role. It is a completely unequal playing ground linguistically. Language is one of the last ways people can get away with discrimination in the real world without being called out. I guarantee you what's going to happen next, John. Speaking English is racist. It's coming. And it is part of the patriarchy. You speak English, you have an unfair advantage. While I think there is far, far more than enough evidence to discourage it out of human kindness and empathy, I think that the direct societal repercussions are coming. For examples,
here's where you got your prediction.
For examples of specific linguistic features that are discussed on occasion on No Agenda are vocal fry and tea dropping. While not exclusively a female feature, vocal fry is associated with younger female speakers. No, the first time we played it was the Berkeley Hummer. And that's what we called her, the Berkeley Hummer, Jill Abramson, who by far is young.
Right.
She is not young. How old is Jill Abramson?
She's not young. She's in her 60s.
Yeah. So that's where it
Maybe
started.
70s.
And in fact, I think we said that this is more of a milieu issue that, anyway, I'll continue.
Yes, we do believe, by the way, you should stop right there and remind people that that's what we're dealing with here is milieu.
Yes.
Not any sort of socio-economic anything. It's milieu. You have a bunch of people together and they all vocal fry and they uptalk and they have that screwy or weird cadences like everybody in the Obama administration. We noticed the cadence that everybody in the administration had. It was a dang-de-bang-de-bang kind of a sound. Or the one you just pointed out with Chelsea. These are all milieus that we're dealing with, which apparently the linguistic department doesn't give a shit about.
And it's the same with like Trump and Johnson. Dropping sentences, non sequiturs. It's also a milieu of nut jobs in their own way, and we make fun of that too. So again, on one hand, yes, to many listeners, it can sound annoying. Personally, I think it's funny. But there are also social, political, and power issues. He does a lot of slash. I should have read every single time. I don't know if this is a university thing. But
milieu.
Yes, exactly. I'll read the slashes because he uses that all the time, as if maybe I should choose. I don't know if you're a linguistics professor, shouldn't you use language? Again, on one hand, yes, to many listeners it can sound annoying, but there are also social / political / power issues related to / driving / underlying the change. Asking ourselves, why is that feature annoying, but the other one isn't, is a worthwhile exercise. Well, I find it all annoying. Similarly, with tea dropping, it is simply an ongoing change and not incorrect speech. If you
now stop. We have, when we first started commenting on the tea dropping, important, Putin is the first one I think that
Putin,
really caught our attention.
Yeah.
The woman that quit because she hated Putin.
And by the way,
she worked for
shouldn't we all try to pronounce people's names in their native pronunciation? Isn't that the idea? I've never heard a Russian say Putin. No. So especially with names, it's just that is incorrect. But okay, I digress.
Well, by the way, so I'm watching. Okay, let me get back to where was I going? I was headed to dropping the T's.
Yeah.
Very early on when we started the dropping the T's situation, and we try to catch it when we can because it's funny. Mountain. I'm going to go to the top of the mountain because it makes you sound like a moron. But we got another comment from a different guy who was, I don't know if he's linguistics or what, but he said the same exact thing. So this is being taught someplace that this is a progression, that somehow dropping the T. We were told this over 2 years ago when we first when what's her name, Wheeler or whatever her name was, quit It wasn't Wheeler. It was that other girl.
Yeah.
She quit the RT show.
Yeah, I think it was Wheeler. Yeah.
And it was, oh no, you're just making fun of something that's ongoing. It's ongoing. People are all going to be dropping the T's in the future. There is something being taught in the universities, and I believe that dropping the T is actually code. It's like this unbeknownst code. You are putting yourself into a position. You're categorizing yourself.
Well, what's interesting?
Why is it like we had in the last show? Why is somebody that's a vocal coach dropping her T's? What kind of a vocal coach is this?
And that's what he was responding to. He was responding to here. On Thursday's show, you played a clip of a voice coach and were concerned because they were not speaking properly. You were probably thinking of a speech therapist, as a voice coach generally helps people with the quality of their voice, not the content. Well, here's what I would like to say. Wait a minute. He said, I think it might be good to stop and ask why something sounds weird and if it is actually annoying for dialect/pragmatic reasons. Examples, repetitive ums, hedging, etc. Yeah, we harp on that all the time. In fact, we're the hardest on ourselves about speech, about stupid things we say.
Or smacking our lips,
saying
yes. Or saying so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no.
Yes. But here's the thing. Is it okay, and does he not even make mention? And again, I have no problem with the guy. I'm happy he's a producer, and he's hitting people in the mouth. This is why he's saying, I'm having trouble because people are pushing back. They hear how you make fun of this, of them, obviously, and then they don't want to listen anymore. But he's saying it's not incorrect speech. And it's a speech changes and language changes. But are we not allowed to push back? I mean, if changes are afoot, and if things happen and language, of course, changes. That's documented all the time. But that doesn't mean you have to go, okay, I accept the way you say it. Why can't we just push back and say, no, I say it this way? Why is it always someone else who's changing it that has to be right? Anyway.
Agree. Why is someone changing it, like saying important? That's an important mountain. What? Why are we supposed to? Oh, okay. Well, we're going to start saying it that way too, so we can sound really stupid.
You know, it's like I got over the axe thing, and that's mainly because of Mo. You know, Mo says axe. I want to axe you.
We had the definitive clip on this, where it's actually
it's correct.
During Dickens' era,
yes,
or Chaucer,
right.
I think it was Chaucer. It was okay to use that term, that usage. That doesn't mean you have to like it.
No, but I'm over it. You know, and if my friend wants,
well, I don't care one way or the other. But if somebody on television, this is where that comes from. When Yamiche El Sindor, who is on network PBS NewsHour, a plum job that many a black person would love to have, when she says axe instead of ask, unless she's a Chaucerian and some sort of a student of the language, I take offense to it.
And you should be able to, and you should be able to make fun of it, but that's not allowed. Anyway, from all this, and from my exchange with the professor, and again, I'm not angry, I just disagree, and I'm surprised that this is his thinking because that's what he's been taught. Am I really surprised? No. But I came to a realization. We are too literal, and this has a reason. For the past 5, but I would give it 10 years, human communication, and this also explains the success of podcasts like ours, human communication has been relegated or degraded to text only. We WhatsApp or text our friends, our family. We make our opinions known in, well, it used to be 140, now 280 characters. You have no idea what the context is of what someone's saying. I can say, well, that was a piece of shit, or wow, that was a piece of shit. It's 2 different ways. That's why we had to invent emojis so people could put some emotion. We have no idea what we mean anymore. And in fact, I assert that when you read something, your state of mind is going to change that into the tone of voice that you're reading into it. and it could be completely different for somebody else.
And that's why he misinterpreted your first go round. You said when you went back and forth. This is why you were offended.
Yes.
When you're not offended. Emojis, when emojis first started, I will give a little background from the 1980s. Originally they were emoticons.
Emoticons, right.
And emoticons and people would use them. They would write something and then they would put an emoticon because the tone was never unless you're a professional novelist who has to really write a lot to get the tone in there so you really understand what they're thinking and how they're saying it. But just in one or two sentences, you can't do it. I don't care how good of a writer you are. You had to use emoticons, even though there was a lot of people during that emoticon era. Oh, they used emoticons. You can't do that. It's horrible. It's stupid. You should be able to say what you mean without using emoticons. No, you can't. That was the point. And to this day, it's a problem. Most people, and most people aren't professional writers to begin with, by a lot. It's almost impossible. And even professional writers use them because you have to. Why? What? You can't. I'm just kidding here. You don't type all this crap out.
Because we've lost the art of writing. And writing to a degree where you can actually explain what you're feeling. That has
because if you remember, when you used to write, you'd have it in the handwriting, and it would also be lengthy. That's the difference.
But not. Of course, we got compressed by Twitter. We and we got crutches like emojis.
Email predated Twitter, and email became the problem because email was always terse. And
you're making my point for me. In the workplace, you do have context. When workplace emails take place, you have some context as what you're communicating with your colleagues. And it's not just email, it's Slack, it's Asana, it's all the things everybody's using. But outside of that, we've totally lost the ability to interpret and communicate, which is why I think when people hear two individuals discussing something on a podcast, it's very nice to listen to because people don't have that anymore in their lives. They don't talk anymore with friends and family. It's all app this, app that, check my gram, bada bing, bada boo. And it's destructive.
Time code.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you and the man who put the C in context, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. I'm John C. Dvorak. I'm sorry. And in the morning to boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, dames and knights out there.
In the morning to the trolls in the troll. You liked that, trolls, didn't you? Yeah, they liked that a lot. In the morning to the trolls in the troll room. That is noagendastream.com. 24 hours a day, 24, 7 days a week. There's always something going on at noagendastream.com, and it's fun to go in there with the trolls and troll away at whoever's live. It's the most fun because we got a chat room there. But you can also just go and just hang out with people and talk, and it's a good place to be. noagendastream.com. And I also would like to thank the artists that we had for episode 1186 episodes. We came up with the title Baghdaddy. Oh, yeah, this was our Jennifer Buchanan coming soon on Netflix from the No Agenda Animated Studios. You saw she did, did you see the Baghdaddy video she did?
Yeah, I've seen them all.
That's fantastic.
The Baghdaddy one was quite good.
It's very good. And now, thank you. People are sending me, or at least posting on Twitter, good pieces from previous shows with time codes and episode numbers, and I am astounded. How anyone can find any of this stuff or how they know is beyond me. I don't know what I did in the last show, let alone that someone, or maybe people have patience. But I think we're going to come up with enough material for a damn good pilot.
Oh, for sure.
For our exit strategy.
It won't be an exit strategy because you can't quit the show ever.
Oh, you're right.
It's not much of an exit strategy.
When it goes into syndication and reruns.
It's a money-making strategy.
Oh, well. I guess it's not an exit strategy. Damn it. You're right. Well, we can be pretty damn topical. I'm amazed at the speed at which she gets stuff done. That's fantastic. I'm blown away.
Well, I'm blown away by some of our producers and executive producers, associate executive producers for show 1187.
Okay, let's thank them.
And I'm going to thank them. Starting with Sir Francis of SRQ, the Earl of Southwest Florida. In Arcadia.
Yes.
$792. Woo!
Damn.
I'm going to close this little little window that pops up.
Oh, the Skype window? The shitty Skype window? Yeah. And you
click it and it goes away, then it shows
back.
up again.
Yeah, it comes back. I know. It's like bad Mexican lunch. It's just what it is.
ITM, gents. A belated congrats on 12 years of superb media deconstruction. I believe
wait a minute. Whoa. Stop. I'm sorry. I needed to thank the artist. I just said great piece of work. I didn't say it was comic strip blogger. You know that would be a problem. All right. Thank you.
Sure it wasn't CSB, his competitor?
Thank you, comic strip blogger. All right. We're back to Sir Francis.
That would be a problem.
It's problematic, bro.
You're doing make goods for the next year. A belated congrats on 12 years of superb media deconstruction. I believe that I got in somewhere in the 600s, but I wish it had been sooner for my sanity's sake. Please accept today's contribution in exchange for the 24 invisible no agenda hats to be delivered by drone, obviously.
Okay.
On a recent episode, there was a discussion of the Spotify office and their love of transgenderism. At one point, Adam mentioned them sipping espresso and admiring the view from the San Francisco.
Wait, I'm sending the hats. Hold on.
Yeah, they did the hats.
There we go. All right.
You got to put mufflers on those things.
They're gone. All right, done. Yes.
From the San Francisco HQ.
Yeah.
Bear with me, but that comment reminded me of another scene, at least the espresso part. It took me back to the first Gulf War, wherein Matt, the anal rapist Lauer,
allegedly
was reporting on the war from the safety of Kuwait.
Yeah, it's that idea, yes.
I will never forget watching him sit in a director's chair under an umbrella sipping espresso while his colleague David Bloom was embedded with the tank battalion and died of an embolism from being stuck in a tank for hours on end. R.I.P. David Bloom, and get ready to be someone's bitch in jail, Lauer. Okay. Enough of this.
Doubtful.
One more anecdote to share. Anyway, whilst I have you, my 15-year-old son asked me on Tuesday at dinner whether I was impressed with the killing of al-Baghdadi last week, and he brought up the dog. I started to laugh, and then I realized that my Amazon Echo was in the room, so I said, Alexa, play the most recent episode of No Agenda. Ah, yes, a teaching moment ensued, and I assured him that you would deconstruct the dog distraction on Thursday's show. You know what he's talking about? That is enough.
Well, I know he's talking about the dog that apparently was injured and got the Purple Heart, and then
the dog in the Purple Heart.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's enough for me on how to NJNK. But please serve up some espresso and embolisms at the round table today, as we will go back to cookies and vodka around the holidays when I submit your holiday bonuses.
Now,
Sir Francis, SRQ Earl of Southwest Florida, 8,300.
I have a question here. He asked for something at the round table, but is he getting upgraded or something? We have no knights or dames. We have no title changes. So is he just asking for me to put it there for other people?
You want some random stuff so they can hear
week?
you when you yak away about it.
Yeah, but that won't. Okay.
It won't happen today.
No. Well, thank you very much, Sir Francis. I don't see exactly what you want deconstructed about the dog, other than it just added.
I think we talked about the dog, the fact it was photoshopped, and I don't know. There's nothing to deconstruct about the dog.
Well, other than it puts a nice slant on an otherwise bullcrap story.
Yeah.
I mean, please don't pay attention to the fact that he blew himself up, yet we had the DNA, and that was quickly identified, and they scattered his ashes in the ocean, and we'll never see the pictures. But look at the dog! Look at the Photoshop dog! Okay. It's a distraction. It is a distraction. I'm not sure what he means.
It's nuts.
But I don't want to disappoint him with his 15-year-old son. I don't want to,
that son is
way to go, Dad. These douchebags didn't have anything about the dog. Another time code. I'm taking
There
it
was
myself.
no dogs. Yeah, it's almost as good as the other one. Peter Rydell comes up next at $577.75 in Malvern, Pennsylvania. You guys are hilarious and satisfyingly accurate with media predictions. Keep up the great work. Been enjoying your show on both Thursdays since 2016, so please de-douche me.
All right. Oops. Sorry. I left the de-douche in my suitcase. Wait. All right, I got it here.
You've been de-douched.
He's requesting some jobs karma for his fiancée and himself. Please play an extended Obama no.
No. Listen. No. No. Hey. No.
What? What'd you say?
I'm just saying no. Sing it.
No. Listen. No. Hey.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got
All right.
All right. The next is Kevin Fitzpatrick, $333.13, and he sent a note in asking how to send a note in. Okay, so he sent a note. So I told him to send it again with a note.
Right.
So he did, and it turned out to be very long. I want to make sure he does have jingles requests you can queue up.
All right.
China is as ho.
Yeah.
That's true. A combination that's been, and jobs karma.
Okay.
With the Trump and Nancy mashup.
Oh, people are doing dangerous stuff.
Well, we'll see what happens.
All right.
We haven't got any feedback on any of it. And I'm going to make sure he's on the birthday list. I believe he might be.
Yeah, I'll check. Go ahead. Keep reading.
Check on that.
Yeah.
Okay, here he goes. First off, I need a de-douching for producing episode 1155 with 6666.
You've been de-douched.
Actually, to help future douchebags donating for the first time, here's what you do. When using PayPal, enter a very generous amount. So select your payment type. Once this happens, a small nondescript box with the words "Your Thoughts" will appear below that very generous amount. Type words in that box so Adam and John may recite your voluminous recordings to the masses. This ends my public service announcement on the Emergency Douchebag Network.
Yeah, I will tell you there is a limit. You cannot type as long as you want in that box.
Some people manage to do it. Secondly,
when's his birthday? Because he's not on the list. When is his birthday?
He's not on the list.
No, he's not on the list.
Well, that's interesting. I thought I put him on there. November 3rd.
Okay. All right.
Well, maybe I didn't because it's in his PS.
Okay.
How do I get on the birthday list? He asked. What's the criteria? It has to be your birthday.
That's a good start.
Jeez, this guy's got a lot of questions. Kevin, slow down. Take a pill. I'm just accounting for this. My wife, Melissa, will be assuming the title of this. Now, I have to read this because it's so funny because I don't know what he's doing here. Okay. My wife, Melissa, will be assuming the title of executive producer at this time. She needs a de-douching, please.
All right.
You've been de-douched.
I'm getting his voice like an old army sergeant. Knowing what you're looking for more dames, I'm convinced she should reach the title as soon as possible. We argued, debated as to who should be producing today, but I won out. She resisted, and I wanted this to be for me. Oh, and she wanted this to be for me. I listened way more than her. But she claims this is her only source of news and goings-on in the world. We need you both to continue the media deconstruction as long as humanly possible. Who else out there is going to help keep us sane from the M5M bullcrap? More importantly, Melissa needs the power of jobs karma to help her during this challenging moment. And you're going to risk the Trump, okay.
What? Okay. That's Trump Pelosi, right? She wants to double?
Yeah, that's what he said. Okay, I have a smoking hot wife. It works way too hard. And way too much. The day I met her, I knew she was a keeper. I always wanted the best for her. So by producing and receiving jobs karma, I hope this donation gets her to a better job situation in the very near future, whatever that may be. What about the 13 cents in the donation, you may ask?
Hey, what about the 13 cents?
Yeah, what about the 13 cents? Oh, you may ask. Well, Melissa's lucky number is 13. I'm trying to attach all the luck I can. So by donating after your 12th anniversary, you're now in your 13th year of no agenda. So it might be a stretch, but work with me here. 13 is her thing. She even loves Friday the 13th. Lastly, finally. Leslie. Here we go. Get your douchebag button ready.
All right.
I want to call out Steve.
Douchebag.
James.
Douchebag.
And Tuan.
Douchebag.
For being douchebags. I hit them in the mouth a while back. They should be very generous amount donations, but as soon as they can. Anyway, it's his birthday. This is Kevin Fitzpatrick, Brainwaves Creative Studios.
All right. And we got a couple yingles for you.
China is asshole.
That's true.
Jobs,
Jobs.
jobs,
I like
Jobs.
jobs,
Jobs.
and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
I kind of like that China's asshole. That's true. That's a good combo. It's a quickie. It's funny. I like it. It's
There
nice.
goes the visa. Dude named Ralph, Miami, Florida, 31104.
They go. Would you say there goes the the visa to China? Yeah, I think we're pretty much toast on that one.
Dear John and Adam, by the way, you would do travel tips on this show.
Yes.
So first time I went to China.
Yes.
Per se in the 90s, early 90s. We were. This is when you could actually have to, when it wasn't so commercial to go there, so you're gonna be the only guy going. We were coached on how to fill out the form for the visa by a Chinese guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, whatever occupation you put, since there was a bunch of journalists, never put that.
Don't put journalists down.
Ever. He says you put down, because you can rationalize this, and they love it when they just want to see it. There's a bunch of bureaucrats. You always put down, and you can rationalize this. Whoever you are, I don't care who you are, you can put this down, and it's honest, and you're not lying. Manager.
Yeah, that's good. And I bet it has standing in China, too. Manager.
Yeah.
And of course, you can be manager of your own personal time.
You can be manager of your family.
Yeah, nice.
If you're working for anybody, you're managing something.
Another tip from your No Agenda show.
We have tons of them. Dear John and Adam, congratulations on 12 years, and thank you for the best podcast in the universe. I read that in the Mueller report. This donation brings me halfway to my knighthood and includes $11.04 towards someone's damehood.
Oh, nice.
I leave the choice of a worthy candidate to your good judgment. In closing, I would like some jobs karma to further my career as a dude named Ben, but I'm a dude named Ralph in Miami.
Someone made an interesting observation about, we have dudes named Ben and dudettes named Bernadette. Should we not just be calling this group of people who are very important? Important. They run the world. They're sysadmins, network admins. Should we just call them named Ben? Isn't that more correct? We take it all in one go.
G.
I think them named Ben has a nice sound. And thank you for the contribution towards the Dame Drive.
Dame Drive, it's a Dame Drive, and baby, you can be a dame.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Them's name Ben's.
Next we dropped associate executive producer, Doctor in Brighton, Colorado, $250. I wanted to make a donation. My wife and daughter, Alice and Lynette, have been listening for a while and started talking about the podcast.
Ooh.
So this donation is in their name. I have never before listened to a podcast, but find yours really worthwhile and entertaining as well. You made the recommendation for the book, The Family of Secrets, The Bush Dynasty. I want to commend you for bringing this information out. I really had my eyes opened. I hope a lot more people read the book. Good job. This is a program worth donating to and helping to keep on the air.
I think Doctor, is this his first donation? Or even though it's for his wife and daughter, it's a de-douching is in order, yeah?
I would think.
I think so.
You've been de-douched.
And thank you for contributing towards our Dame Drive. And, we didn't talk about it much anymore, but No Agenda, it says noagendabooks.com still exists. Let me see. No Agenda.
I believe so.
Books. I know No Agenda No Agenda Entertainment. I think noagendabooks.com went away. Noagendafun.com. That's where I got a lot of good stuff. Yes, that's where we have. Oh, that has movies, books, restaurants, food, and wine. So under books, if we go there, we have Snow Crash, which of course is is very important. That's Neil Stevenson. What else do we have? This Mein Kampf. Thanks. That's No Agenda books. We never talked about the Myth of the Machine or the Camp of Saints. Oh,
Myth
well.
of the Machine, yes.
We did? Okay. Well, the Anti-Tech Revolution,
heard of it.
The Unabomber Manifesto.
I don't think this Family of Secrets is in there.
A Family of Secrets has got to be, and of course it is. Also, what else have we? The Population Bomb. We've recommended
something of
so
Ashes.
many.
The Ashes book.
Legacy of Ashes. Yep, that's
Legacy of Ashes, a Broken Pots book.
Pot Shards. Yep, Pot Shards.
Pot Shards. Yeah.
No, the site is kind of slow, but there
should be the Technological Society should be listed.
Yes, and there's and I would just recommend for fun, also because he just passed away at 89. Kid Stays in the Picture by Robert Evans, and I would say don't read it, get the audio book.
And I want to mention something you should note if you're going to listen to him talking out the book, that according to Francis Ford Coppola, Robert Evans was a not only pathological, but an incredibly like an over-the-top liar.
Really?
Yeah. That's what he said.
Interesting.
He said on that old Peter Goober show that he used to run. And yeah, he thought Evans was horrible. And Evans is the guy who prevented Scorsese from doing the Godfather 2 movie.
Well, but he's also the guy that got Coppola to do Godfather, the original, because he specifically said he wanted Italians to direct it. And he says, and I was listening to an NPR interview, that Hollywood only wanted Jews directing. That's what he said. And so he fought to get an Italian.
True.
Just to continue, John, Clinton...
But entertaining.
Industrial Society and Its Future, Clinton Cast, The Anarchist Cookbook, The Day After Roswell, Pot Shards, The Death and Life of the Great American School System, Web of Debt. Oh my God, we've recommended some good-ass books. Abby Hoffman's Steal This Book, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff in there. Anyway, thank you very much for your support. Welcome to the family, citizen. Welcome to our Value for Value network.
Well, we're not done yet.
I'm just saying.
Couple more. John Lips, $222.22, and he just simply says happy belated birthday. And Matthew Anderson comes in with $200 from West Roxbury, Massachusetts, and he just simply says karma works. Boom. And that was a check. He mailed in a check with a map of some street in Boston and no note, and just said karma works on the check.
This would be a good time for me to remind everybody that it is of great importance that if you're using something like, if you have the possibility to make donations through your bank, that your bank may send a check, or you can do it through, there's a number of different ways you can do it. It's all at Dvorak.org/NA. That's a good idea to do that. Just to spread it out in case, the financial system goes down or other issues occur. I've always appreciated that we receive many, many checks. I think it's a great way of sending your value to us.
Well, that's also a great way of sending us cute notes and cards.
And
I really like the cards. We get some great cards from people.
It also saves a little bit on transaction fees because basically it's one for one, right? If you send a bank check from the bank itself, there's no fee, if I'm not mistaken. I think it goes straight through.
Slightly mistaken. There's a fee involved, but it's minor.
But it's not like PayPal.
The other thing is I want to mention that Pop Money works quite well, and it doesn't have that has no fees.
How about Zelle? Are we using
Zelle? Here's the thing about Zelle. I've talked to the bank about Zelle, and they say one of these days they're going to make it work, but they say right now it doesn't work. They don't use Zelle yet. There is one person that gets money to us through Zelle, but I recommend Pop Money, and there's a thing called person-to-person money. It's just some system in Vermont. Somebody's got through on that mechanism. You talk to your bank. Credit unions are the most versatile. The credit unions seem to have all these different ways of doing stuff, and it's always inexpensive.
And and if you're in America, you should have a credit union account no matter what. With $10 in it, it doesn't matter. It's important. It's you should always have just credit unions they've helped me out so many times in the past. If you already have a relationship with them, they're not profit oriented. They're motivated by helping you, their customer. It's well worth it. Unfortunately, we have UFCU. Their color is orange, so all their cards are orange. It's not hey, I'll pick up dinner. What is that? Did you get that? Is that an entry pass from Disneyland?
What is this, the Halloween card?
It's the exact opposite of the American Express black card. It's like you drop that. No. Here's my orange card. Oh, yeah. All right. High roller. Well, thank you to our executive producers and associate executive producers in our Value for Value segment here, the first one for episode 1187. It's very simple. We take no money from corporations, advertisers, any other way. It's your show, your producers. We need a lot of help. We have professors who are not afraid to at least share their thinking with us. Now, of course, they have to be anonymous.
Anonymously.
Well, that I understand, but still, he's taking a risk, and I really appreciate that. That's huge value to me personally. The back and forth, it helps me think. But also, we need to keep the show on the air. That's what most people can do easily, is support it with finances. How do you do it? You say, I listened for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. What's my time worth? What is the value I got? Did I learn anything? Did I take a linguistics class and learn more in that class, or more for the discussion about it on the No Agenda show? I think you know the answer. And please consider supporting us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
As you know, you got to go out there and let everybody know it's important.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order.
Shut up, slave with a goat twist. Bada bing, bada boom.
Did you ever do the Nancy Trump karma for that guy?
I think I did, but just in case.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
You will
that's targeted. I want to remind people, so don't use that karma.
You will
until it's been affected. We're still in testing phase.
You will be happy to know that I found a device that was perfect to get rid of the ring. You remember, I'm going out of town, and the keeper had a kind of an experience where someone showed up at the door, and we have the milky glass, so you can't see who it is, and so I wanted to come up with a solution for her. And I had the Ring doorbell for 2 weeks, and it's now gone. I had our guy Drew come over and help me out for $49. You're going to love this product. It's Yale, and Yale is it's an outstanding brand. Yale, for locks, etc. It is a non-cloud, non-connected, battery-based device. You drill a hole in the door just like you would for a spyglass. The spyglass goes in. It's a little camera on the front. And on the back, they have a battery-powered, very lightweight, small monitor. It plugs right in. That's stuck onto the door. There's no other connection. You want to look, you hit the button, it opens up. You have just as good a view, if not better, of your entryway. And for us, it goes all the way to the street. $49. And no one can spy on you, such as Ring did with Halloween. I'm so sick of what these people are doing. Did you see the viral video of the kid who goes up? Tina showed it to me first. Who's trick-or-treating. The kid goes up. It's a ring doorbell video. He sees the bowl is empty, and he takes some out of his bag and puts it into the bowl.
Yeah. Well, I've heard of this video. Okay. I didn't seek it out.
Let me tell you.
I know about it.
Native ad. Total bullshit.
Who do you think it's a native ad for?
Ring did this, has been doing ads.
Ring. Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Oh, yeah. They took, You remember, if you share a video with anybody, their terms of service immediately allows them to do whatever they want with the video. It's in the terms of service. If you share a video from your Ring doorbell with anyone else, even your neighbor, the terms of service say, oh, you shared it, now we can do whatever we want with it. And they were making little ad videos of all these things happening during Halloween. And people think, of course, oh, it's so cute. Look at that kid. It's great. This is problematic. You're being spied on. You're allowing Amazon, of all people, to spy on you and turn it into money, advertising money for themselves. And you're so mind controlled that you're in, this is great. Too bad they didn't take mine. My kids were so cute. Stop. Get rid of it.
So let's take a look at the new boss of ISIS.
Oh, let me guess.
Now, this is the reason I have this clip. It's not because of the new boss of ISIS, because this is a very messy ABC report that I want to take a chunk out of, and I'm going to ask you to explain to me what this woman actually said. But listen to the new boss of ISIS clip.
Okay.
We're learning this morning about the new leader of ISIS, named just days after that U.S.-led raid that killed the founder of the terrorist group, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
What?
Well, I thought this al-Baghdadi was like the third al-Baghdadi. How could he be the founder? Who said he was the founder? I thought anyway, go on, just play it.
ABC's Stephanie Ramos is right here in studio with more on this story. What's happening?
Well, we're hearing two different statements, one from the president and another from the State Department. A day after ISIS named a new leader in an audio message after the compound raid that led to the death of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the president tweeted, ISIS has a new leader. We know exactly who he is. That may very well be the case, but the top counterterrorism official at the State Department says the U.S. is still looking into it, adding they will dismantle the group regardless of who its leadership cadre is. That counterterrorism official, Nathan Sales, he says they're looking into the organization and where al-Baghdadi's successor came from. Sales did not name him, but says they want to make sure they have the very latest information to confront any threat, acknowledging that ISIS is a top national security priority and that the U.S. will continue to put pressure on ISIS by way of law enforcement, militarily, and financially, adding that the residual U.S. force presence in Syria will be used to deny ISIS access to fuel terrorism. So something we're continuing to watch, and he says they'll continue to put pressure on ISIS in that region.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie Ramos, for us.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the tag team known as the Samoans now have a new leader. Come on.
What a crock.
Trump said this? Trump said, we know who he is, the new leader. That's what Trump said?
I know who you are.
Oh, it's so disappointing that he does that.
So
what a douche.
Well, he just tweets like
it's
a maniac.
Douchey.
But that's not the point of this clip. The point of this clip is I want you to listen to one of the things she said in the middle of the report. She's blah, 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 blah. She's going nuts on this report. And then she's just it's just throwing words out. Now, I want you to listen to this. This is the WTF sub clip. I want you to listen carefully what she says here and then tell me what it is she said.
Okay, let me just get into the zone. All right, here we go.
Will be used to deny ISIS access to fuel terrorism. So
will be used to deny access to fuel terrorism. So that's what she said. The troops will be used to deny ISIS access to the fuel. Was that? Let me listen again.
Will be used to deny ISIS access to fuel terrorism. So,
it's better. Will be used to deny access to ISIS to fuel terrorism. But she's starting to talk like Trump, actually. That's kind of good. Just throw terrorism. I think the ending was. Yeah.
I really think she was trying to say the access to fuel.
And then she just threw terrorism in as a.
And then she dropped it. And then she was fuel. It was like they're going to deny him access to fuel.
Terrorism.
And then terrorism. It was like.
You can't go wrong throwing some terrorism in from time to time.
Just throw the word terrorism in out of the blue.
It's for the pipelines. That's what the troops are doing. There's very little oil, relatively speaking, in Syria. It's just to block Iran's pipeline. Hello, people.
So let's go to Brexit for a minute.
Oh, yes. Good. I have some Brexit stuff, too. What you got?
Good, because you're going to get on the next show,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to give us a real European view of this whole thing, because you're there.
Yes.
And you can be bumping into people and asking them.
You bet.
But I got this funny clip of a bunch of stuff jumbled together by one of the overseas networks. This report on Brexit upcoming elections.
I got it. Okay, hold on.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has reportedly removed the threat of a no-deal Brexit from his election campaign platform. It could be a softening of his stance in an attempt to hold on to moderate Conservative voters. The Prime Minister had previously pledged to take Britain out of the EU with or without a deal on October 31st, before lawmakers voted to force him to seek a 3-month extension. Now, the UK's Times newspaper says Johnson has abandoned that strategy altogether. Instead, he'll focus solely on getting his renegotiated deal approved, according to the paper. The news came a day after he rejected a proposed alliance with the hardline Brexit party.
And yes, we are still members of the European Union.
That would have meant he'd have to agree to leaving the European Union without a deal. Johnson said he could put his deal through Parliament after any election win. Opinion polls currently give his Conservatives a healthy lead over the main opposition Labour Party, but also suggest that more than 10% of voters back the Brexit Party, which could be enough to split the pro-Brexit vote in some seats and hand victory to Labour.
I didn't understand much of that report.
I can break it down, I think.
Yeah, please. Well, here's my takeaway. It's never going to happen, is what I heard.
Well, that's our takeaway.
Yeah, okay.
Well, actually, the real takeaway, just to add a little, one more element to the takeaway, is they're going to have another vote.
Yes.
Which they keep denying they're ever going to do, but because of the earlier episodes of a revote, which is what the EU does, they're going to do that. And here's what they're saying in this report. Boris has backed off on the no deal Brexit because he thinks he can win more votes that way. So he's going to say, no, we're going to have to do a deal, and it's going to be the deal that we already have, and all we have to do is vote in a bunch of MPs from the Conservative Party, the new ones, and they'll vote yes because they're all the guys you want to vote for. You don't want to get rid of the rest of them. Meanwhile, Farage, who says that nobody's ever said anything about this deal, we want to do a breakout. We want to do a bust out or whatever they called it. Crash out. They want to crash out of the EU
right.
with a no deal Brexit, and it may be that his appeal will get about 10% or more of the vote, which will end up perhaps throwing the election to Labour. Which means if the Labour wins over Parliament and you end up with Corbyn as the Prime Minister, which is a possibility because of that evil Farage.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that's going to happen is they're going to do they're going to do the revote. That's the first thing that's going to happen. They're going to do a revote, and that'll be interesting.
And that'll fail again.
And I hope that's what happens, personally.
Well, I think if Johnson was smart, he would have used Tuesday as a Brexit day and replaced Guy Fawkes. Remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. That's coming up Tuesday. Another failed Brexit. They're trying to Brexit whole Parliament, but John, let's face it. It's never going to happen. They're never going to leave. They can have as many elections. The Parliament's never going to vote it because they instead of we just leave, which is what they should have done. No, we have to have deals, and it's never going to happen.
That's because of the bankers. The bankers run the country.
There's nothing. The banks are dead in Europe. There's no more deals.
London bankers run the country.
Oh, they run the country, or what's left of it. It's just I just don't see it ever happening. And why would they? The people have no way to really rebel. They're not up in arms. They've been going along for 3 years. Okay. And let me tell you, they're working them. Here's a report I picked up from ITV.
They are working them.
It would have been even better if I had played this before your Brexit clip for the payoff, but This is an ITV News report. Very, very, very concerning what's going on. This is about the National Health System, the NHS, the pride of the United Kingdoms. I was in it myself. And by the way, you still have to pay $5 for every time you go get a prescription, or £5. So there's some cost to it. But as I've said many times, the United States has the reputation that we are racist. But I've lived in the United Kingdom.
They tell me I should go home.
They call me Little China Girl.
Keep that doctor away from me.
It's now so common, I don't even hear myself being described as a black.
These are not words of fiction, but shameful, racist comments made by patients to NHS staff. ITV News has found such abuses increasing in the health service right across the board. Dr. Shanbag is a senior surgeon who's worked in the NHS for more than 20 years. He says even today he still has to deal with prejudice.
More in the patient says, can I have a white doctor do the operation? And I was devastated. I said, God, at this stage in my career, I have to answer that question. It made me reconsider my position in the NHS, because I'm thinking, do I want to put up with this? And if I did not have a 12-year-old for whom I have to take care, I would have left the NHS long time back.
Our research proves Dr. Shanbag is one of hundreds of NHS workers, from nurses to doctors to consultants, who endures such abuse on an almost daily basis. Nick Hume runs one of the largest NHS trusts in the country. He takes a zero-tolerance approach to racist incidents, but wants to go a step further.
Should we be refusing treatment for people that say specifically that they won't have treatment from somebody from an ethnic background? My view is, yes, we should.
Why then, in this day and age, are some patients still racist? It's complex, of course, but Brexit is having an impact.
You see, Nigel Farage, you started this Brexit thing and now everyone's racist.
Yes, because they weren't before.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been doing these reports on the riots around the world. There's a new one where they've been going on. We just don't have the complete list. It's huge.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it's also going on in Pakistan. I want to keep people up to date on that.
Yes. Let me see. You got where's your Pakistan report? Here we go.
Under riots.
Got it.
Tens of thousands of people also turned out today in Islamabad, Pakistan, demanding that Prime Minister Imran Khan resign. Crowds chanted in the streets as hundreds of vehicles flying the black and white flags of a hardline Islamist party arrived in the city. They charged that Khan's government has let them down.
People were told we will build a new Pakistan, but after almost 1.5 years, the government has failed to deliver. So now all the opposition parties are demanding this government should resign due to his failure.
Khan has said he's working to improve the economy and today refused to step down.
Yes, the BBC had quite a report about this. And the main point they made is there was not a single woman at the protest. Not a single one.
Well, there's a reason for that, because this, and by the way, I want to, not that I'm a fan of the Islamist radicals, but there's some Islam, and I wish they'd tell us the name of this group, but there's an Islamist group that has this extremely attractive black and white flag. It's if you can find some photos of the crowds, you'll see there's like 90% of the people in this riot are waving this crazy looking flag.
What's on it? I've just seen the one with the stripes.
Yeah, stripes.
Yeah,
It's
stripes.
just black and white stripes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It reminds me, it's actually the Sao Paulo flag for the county of Sao Paulo in Brazil has a black and white striped flag that's also very attractive. I don't know why. They're just stark looking. But these guys that came into town, they're not going to let any women anywhere near this situation because of just the way they are. And so there would be no women protesting. They're not going to be allowed to. It's just really going to deteriorate. And the guys say, well, he's been in for 1.5 years and nothing's changed, as though they're supposed to make these radical changes overnight, which is unreasonable. But Pakistan's got issues. And everyone's worried sick. Of course, you get a bunch of Islamists taking over the country. They're going to grab that bomb and they're going to throw it over to Delhi.
Well, speaking of which, you don't get this much in America, But bombings in Sweden are now routine, and they're mainly hand grenades, and the reporting is that it's mainly Muslim gangs who are doing this. It's so bad now. Every single day there's at least an explosion somewhere in Sweden. Norway is now doing big border checks. You can't just come from Sweden into Norway anymore because they want to make sure no one's bringing bombs in.
What are they doing
every
about
day?
The ride from Denmark had put a railroad in from Copenhagen over to Malmo, which is a kind of a Muslim enclave. And this rail, it was a big deal to put this rail in. I wonder what kind of border checks they're doing in Denmark. They're freaky about the Muslims.
Well, how about Brussels? This is from a report from yesterday. Nearly half of the residents in Brussels, Belgium, are carrying an object intended for self-defense. This is how bad it's gotten in Brussels, where the European Parliament sits half of the time. Of course, you can't have guns or anything like that. So people have knives, brass knuckles, alarm and air pistols, extendable batons. And 18% of people indicate they have a defensive agent, such as pepper spray. This is Brussels.
Pepper spray, I believe, is illegal.
Yeah, but and so are knives. But people are carrying around knives and batons. And how about brass knuckles? I think they're kind of illegal. That's congratulations.
Yeah, well, fun. Hey, have fun.
Congratulations, Europe. Yeah.
Yes, it's the Faye Wars on the Bay. E-cigarette.
Yes, the vape wars, which really wasn't a war. It was just a big scammerino to get all vaping out of the marketplace, make it illegal. It's working very well. Yes?
I'm going to say in advance that I'm sorry I haven't recorded some of the ads you're missing.
Oh, good
which
ads?
is, I think, part of the. If we go by the scheme that this whole thing is a scam, there are a bunch of these. I think they're for prop something or other here in California.
Yeah.
All sponsored by Michael Bloomberg. And they're all about no, don't let Juul get away with it. And it's just really anti-Juul, it's all about Juul. Big Tobacco was trying to, and they used the excuse they're using is that Big Tobacco bought Juul to enslave the kids.
Well, good.
It's unbelievably funny if you take it from our perspective.
It's completely believable. They bought it to kill it off, and they're doing a good job. And we have a bill going through Congress to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to impose a tax on nicotine used in vaping. You want to kill off an industry? You're doing a good job. And my question is, where are all the news reports of people dying of vaping in Europe? What? I don't understand. People vape here just as much as in the U.S., but no one's dying here. I don't understand. Crazy.
It's really funny. It's actually at the point of being hilarious.
Yeah.
But another thing that's kind of interesting. Do we have the? If you can ever find we did make a clip of Liza, the comedian, and her comment about it's okay to be harassed if the guy's good looking. Liza Schlesinger.
It's not Liza. It's Eliza. It's just that's not
Eliza. Yeah, Eliza. Something I can't remember her first name. But there was an incident that took place after the show where we have a quarterback on the San Francisco 49ers football team who is he's like a Clooney-esque, good-looking guy, tall, dark, and handsome, big smile. A womanizing type, and he says to one of the sideline reporters, he calls her baby, and so she just turns red, and she's all flustered by it, and the tweeters are going crazy about this, but of course nobody calls him out for sexual harassment.
Clooney did this.
What? Sorry?
Who did this? Who said this?
This was Jimmy Garoppolo, the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, who's by all definitions is a good-looking, tall, dark, and handsome quarterback for the football team, a football guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been called out under any other circumstances except for the fact that he's good-looking, and it brings back the old Liza Schlesinger bit where, it's okay to be sexually harassed if the guy's attractive. Every time it happens, it always irks me.
I wish I could find that. I know you had it, but you either have her name wrong or you spelled it wrong.
I probably would have put Liza.
Yeah, but you know what? I get a million clips with Elizabeth Warren.
Oh.
How would you have titled that? I don't think I could find it. Schlesinger.
I don't think I used her last name. Is it? She just goes by. Maybe it's Eliza. Try Eliza.
Yeah, which doesn't help with the Elizabeth.
Same thing. Yeah, Elizabeth
doesn't help much. Oh well.
Can you put a space after the A? Would that help the search?
Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing with a space after it.
Well, that's a shame.
I got. What's this?
Being sexually harassed is the worst. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is it.
Let me rephrase that. Being sexually harassed by an ugly guy is the worst.
There you go.
If he's hot, it's just plain old flirting. No one's ever been like, "Get away from me, you model." Like, that's fine.
So I love that's one of her best. That's so true. Hey, yeah. What's the status of the fires and your electricity? What's going on there in
well, they have the fires are mostly, or in Southern California, kind of under control. We did get a long note from one of our producers, which I'm going to have to deconstruct and bring out. Another PG&E guy who had some questions about the dude named Ben who worked for PG&E, and he's going on about some of the crazy stuff. I'll bring it out into a more elaborate report. Because he's saying stuff like he thinks there's a lot of scams going on here. And he mentions that if you use any of this, I'm just going to read the end. Keep me anonymous, as our contract with PG&E is extremely lucrative, as is our contract cruising timberlands for carbon credits to sell to California. He's up in Oregon.
Have you ever considered that this could all, just as a great side scam, it's like you make this state, California, just inhabitable so that everyone, it's burned to the ground and then someone can go in and buy it all up?
Yeah, I've thought about that, and I brought it up on the show in a casual way.
No, it makes sense.
I think, it drops the property values. You can go pick up some nice property up in Lake County.
Yeah.
After that horrible fire, buy some property in Paradise.
Yeah, we should keep our eyes on it.
I'm keeping an eye on it. I haven't been fooled. Let's see if there's. I may have one clip of the. Yeah, this is a good clip. This is a 51-second. It turns out, thematically, goats saved the Reagan Library. Goats.
Also facing threats from the flames, some of California's famous landmarks. The Getty Center on Monday, and on Wednesday, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. Flames raced up to the walls of the library, located in Ventura County's Simi Valley, something Duke Blackwood, director of the library, said was unlike anything he'd ever seen.
It was crazy. I mean, the smoke and the wind. I've been here in L.A. for 45 years, and I've been through a lot of fires, and this was one of the scariest.
An unlikely hero may have saved the day in the case of the Reagan Library. Officials said goats that munched through brush earlier this year created a fire break that slowed the blaze before it reached the museum, which houses an Air Force One jet and a piece of the Berlin Wall.
Goats that munched their brush? I mean, really?
Munch through brush.
Oh, munch through brush. I'm sorry. That's my brain working.
We we have a number of goat herds around here that are loaned out to various facilities that are like on the top of hills and stuff. And you can get a bunch of, you buy the goat, and you can get like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 goats, and they'll come in and they just let them loose. And they flatten the area.
Speaking of old goats, Jane Fonda does that was really mean. Jane Fonda.
If you're going to do a gag like that, you put that was really mean some other point.
Well, you know what? Because I immediately regretted it because I really like Jane. And I want to like Jane Fonda much more. It's hard. She's making it hard. But, this is... She's
doing what?
She's older than Nancy Pelosi. She looks fantastic. I love that she's active and involved. I like her. I like her in general. But she's now doing these fire drill Fridays. Which, of course, if we're talking fire, what is the cause of all of it? You know what the cause of the fires are. It's obviously, it's climate change. But there's more to it. There's more to it. So I'd like to let Jane Fonda speak for a little bit here at a Friday fire drill.
I want to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the traditional land of the Anacostan people of the Piscataway tribe.
Wakanda.
I did not cover it, too. This morning, let us acknowledge our sisters and brothers in California who are being threatened by fires up and down the state.
Notice, Jane Fonda doesn't say threatened. She says threatened.
Yeah, who are being threatened by fires up and down the state, fueled by climate-related drought and high winds.
Climate winds.
Hospitals are filling with people suffering from respiratory problems due to the smoke. One big California newspaper wrote, and I quote, "The fires have intensified fears that parts of California had become too dangerous to inhabit." California, too dangerous to inhabit. We read about this in Asia, in parts of India. But this is happening right now in this country. In the last decade, over 100 million trees in California have died due to prolonged drought. Sonoma County just had the largest evacuation in its history. People in San Francisco Bay are having to wear masks, but they're opening their homes.
Wait a minute. Are you wearing a mask right now?
No.
Well, are you in the Bay Area?
I will say this. 2 years ago in the 2017 fire season, not last year, but 2 years ago, when they had that big one, they and the wind shifted. Right now, the winds are shifted so that everything just blows out to the ocean. But their ash was coming in the area, and people would wear masks. I don't know why. It wasn't even smoky. I mean, if one's just standing in front of the barbecue to flip a burger, you're going to get more pollution in your lungs than you're going to get from that fire. But okay, yeah, people were
Jane
wearing masks.
is saying that they're wearing masks now.
In its history,
no, they're not.
People in San Francisco Bay are having to wear masks.
Oh, it's only people who live in the Bay. So if you're in, maybe they have swimming masks. Is perhaps what they use.
Sonoma County just had the largest evacuation in its history. People in San Francisco Bay are having to wear masks, but they're opening their homes to the most vulnerable evacuees.
And who are
These
those?
climate emergencies offer us a chance to choose between succumbing to the hatred that our president is spewing and turning on one another.
What? I know. This is where it went awry.
How do you go from A to B?
This is where it went awry. But I think I can explain it. We'll listen again.
Vulnerable evacuees. These climate emergencies offer us a chance to choose between succumbing to the hatred that our president is spewing and turning on one another.
I think what she's saying is, despite the fact that Orange Man Bad Cheeto Head is running the country, people are still nice to each other. I think that's what she's saying.
Vulnerable evacuees. These climate emergencies offer us a chance to choose between succumbing to the hatred that our president is spewing and turning on one another, or coming together in shared humanity and supporting each other. Let's always choose love. and empathy and our shared humanity.
Except when you're talking about the president. Or
I don't understand. Let's choose love and not that son of a bitch.
That's exactly what she just did. And I want to like her so much, but she does not like me. And she also does not like you, John.
It's very fitting that you all are here because today we're focusing on women and climate change. As the former president of Ireland, Mary Robinson, said, we're facing a man-made crisis and it requires a feminist solution.
Thanks, Jane.
You see, women and the earth are deeply bound together physically and spiritually. Women bear the brunt of climate change, and women hold many of the solutions to climate change. In developing countries, it's women and girls who plant the crops and harvest them and fetch the water and chop the wood to help their families survive. And when there is a climate crisis, the crops fail and women sometimes have to walk for days to find water and wood.
What are the men doing?
If they ever even find them.
You're gambling.
Women's work becomes so much harder in the face of climate crisis. And did you know that women make up 80% of climate refugees, people who are displaced because of the climate crisis? And yet women are usually the last to be rescued when there is extreme climate events.
Wow. Now I understand. But let's have love in our hearts, except for men, because it's your fault. It's a man-made crisis, and it takes women to fix it.
Well, that's just silly.
One of the benefits of this situation is, as I discussed a couple shows ago, is it does open up new opportunities. Mainly in the form of microgrids, and San Jose is on the microgrid tip. And there's something interesting in here. I'll see if you catch it.
San Jose isn't the only city that suffered power shutdown events, and its elected officials aren't waiting for someone else to prevent them. Mayor Sam Liccardo says he plans to use $500,000 in special state funds to start exploring a network of electrical microgrids that can provide power when PG&E's system can't or won't.
We'll be looking at critical facilities throughout the city where we can ensure we have local generation of power, primarily through solar or fuel cells, and local storage.
Sorry. He just threw in there, hey, we just do it for fuel cells, man. Did you hear that? He just said, hey, it's going to be solar and fuel cells.
What's he talking about?
It's fuel cells, baby.
Primarily through solar or fuel cells, and local storage of that electricity.
The goal is to keep small retailers and restaurants open, to keep home medical devices working, and to keep essential city services operating, not to mention keeping thousands of homes from going dark. But it's going to take time and a lot more than what the state is funding.
This is a multiple billion-dollar proposition. Nonetheless, we need to get started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're getting started. Directing $500,000 is to start. $500,000 in funds to the microgrid. All right, it's a good start. It's coming.
Why are they shutting off the power to San Jose in the first place?
Because fire and men.
Fire.
Speaking of men, PG&E's CEO did a little press conference, and he was asked.
That guy's the worst.
Yes. He is Marie Antoinette of the power industry. Here's the question.
There are a lot of families who are right on the edge in terms of their finances. People are having a hard time affording putting food on the plate. Yet here they are having to clear out their refrigerators. What do you say to people who just can't afford to restock their fridges and are losing all this food they've had in their households after these shutoffs?
These events can be hard on people, really hard on people, and particularly people who have struggles anyways. And, there are community-based things you can do, food banks, these kind of things. But for us, the main thing is we didn't cause any fires. For these people, we didn't burn down any houses. The Kincaid fire is still under investigation. I got that. But, one of the things we did was give them the opportunity to actually refill their refrigerator because their house is still there.
Let them eat cake. What's your problem?
Wow.
Just go buy your food again, slave. I'm sure you have the funds. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. I don't know where that guy came from. I have to look into him.
Very disturbing.
Bad news, that guy.
Yeah.
All right. A couple of things.
We do have to take a break pretty soon. So if you want to play something, we'll take it.
If you want to take the break, okay. I have a. Oh no! I don't know why I clipped this. I do have a little Warren clip where she uses a word phrase that I thought was interesting. It's very short, it's 11 seconds.
Built right into the plan is super duper enforcement. No more, you assign 2 IRS agents to try to keep up with the whole thing. Nope. We put it right into the cost.
Okay, super duper.
Yeah, super duper. Which is a good show title.
Yes. Well, I had a, let me see, it was in the last show. I had a new Russian word that I wanted to introduce. It's along these lines. It is, I think it's glosna. Yes, glosna, which is super cool. Glosna.
Huh.
But super duper is kind of good. I like that.
And then I want to get this clip out of the way before I take the break.
Mm-hmm.
This was kind of like a contrast to the Jimmy Garoppolo story. And this is ugly Harvey Weinstein just trying to sit there with some buddies. I don't know what he's maybe with his lawyers.
It's interesting. It's interesting you pulled this clip. I found the clip to be dumb. I thought the whole thing. Unless you have a news report, is this just the clip or is it the news report?
Yeah, it's the clip with the woman screaming at him.
Well, I thought she was lame. Well, set it up.
I'm not talking about the comedian.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I'm missing. Okay.
The comedian, I got that too. I would get the comedian is lame.
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's some casual, just one of the customers goes nuts.
I say, you want to explain what went down here? Because
this is a what I would consider a low end junk comedy club.
Mm-hmm. It's open night.
It looks like it was thrown together in a high school auditorium.
Open mic night.
And it was an open micer, and she sees Weinstein in the audience. Now, it's not unusual, by the way, for comics to go after anybody in the audience. It's kind of what they do. But she goes after Weinstein, and then we have this incident where somebody else starts screaming at him. And I just found the clip to be. I've been carrying the clip for a couple of shows. I just want to get rid of it, for one thing. But I just thought it was a fun clip.
In New York City, a woman comedian was booed and 2 attendees were kicked out of an event for young performers in Manhattan's Lower East Side Wednesday night after they protested the presence.
I'm sorry, I have to stop. Did I hear her say Manhattan? I think Judy said Manhattan.
This is not Judy. This is Amy.
Amy?
For young performers in Manhattan's Lower East Side Wednesday night after they protested the presence of accused sexual predator and former Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein, who was spotted in the audience. One of the evening's performers, comedian Kelly Bachman, who's a rape survivor, called out Weinstein during her act on stage.
I'm a comic, and it's our job to name the elephant in the room. Do we know what that is? Yeah, it's Freddy Krueger in the room, if you will. I didn't know that we have to bring our own maze and rape whistles to Actors Hour. No? Oh, shut up. Yeah. This kills at group therapy for rape survivors.
Another attendee, actor Zoe Stuckless, was kicked out of the event after confronting Harvey Weinstein.
Nobody's gonna say anything! Nobody's really gonna say anything! I'll get out of here, that's fine! I am happy to leave, but nobody's gonna say anything! I'm gonna stand 4 feet from a rapist, and nobody's gonna say anything! I'll go!
Amber Rollo, who is also a comedian, confronted Weinstein and was kicked out as well after a member of Weinstein's entourage called her the C word. Rollo's also a rape survivor. Harvey Weinstein's pleaded not guilty to multiple charges of rape, sexual assault, and predatory sexual assault. He faces trial in Manhattan court in January.
Oh, good. That's the only thing I wanted to know after hearing all that is, what is he doing walking around?
that would be an interesting question that somebody might ask. And I don't understand when you can yell, so nobody's going to say anything when you're saying something.
Well,
it just seemed like a fiasco. And what is he doing there?
Yeah, I mean, Weinstein. I don't understand that he shows himself in public anywhere.
And it's very strange. And the whole story was weird.
Well, it would have been good if the first comedian, if she had done a good. I mean, if you're a good comic,
she was funny,
yeah, you can dress somebody down and you can really humiliate them. But I think she was too triggered, and rightfully so. If I saw this guy, I'd be like, get out of my show. Who let him in? Yeah,
you could actually do that. You can actually get somebody thrown out.
Of course you can.
Yeah, that's what she should have done instead of just yakking away. Anyway, I just found the whole
Well, it's very depressing to me that Harvey Weinstein is still walking around. I mean, we have Louis C.K., his career is not only ruined, but it's broke, I can't laugh anymore at Louis C.K. Something broke. It's hard to explain. Matt Lauer will never work again. Rightfully so.
He definitely is done.
Rightfully so. But then this Weinstein, Bill Cosby's in jail. He's in just Slammer in the big house in the shoot, and Weinstein's walking around. Why? I mean, I'm surprised he must have bodyguards. Don't people attack him on the street?
He's with about 4 people. He might have bodyguards.
I mean, he
still has money. He still gets the residuals. There's no, you don't get cut off from that.
Right. Well, okay. Well, that was not a fun story, John. I'm sorry that you did that. Now, how can we take people into our donation segment with that?
I do have fun stories.
No, I'll do one. I don't trust you anymore.
Oh.
This is from the Dogs Are People Too department. I saw an obituary. From New Jersey. I will read the obituary to you. There's 2 parts that were interesting. This, by the way, is not the obituary I want. Brian Joseph Tansey of Edgewater, New Jersey, age 59, passed away on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019. Originally from Palisades Park, New Jersey, Brian was the son of the late Catherine Rotolo Tansey and Patrick James Tansey. He was the father of 4-legged children, Riverkeeper, Sherry, and Benson, who predeceased him. Is that English? Can you be predeceased?
It's well, the obit writer, who's obviously a joker,
I guess,
is the lowest guy on the totem pole in most newspapers. It's like you start off doing classified ads.
Wait, there's something worse than podcaster?
Yes.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, we do have a few people to thank for show 1187, starting with Wendy Brahman, which is spelled Brahman.
Okay.
And she sent a note in which I think is worth reading.
Alrighty.
Happy anniversary. It's been 5 years since I last donated. My husband of 39 years decided he not only wanted out, but wanted to destroy me financially, emotionally, and physically.
Oh, no.
He just about did, but it's been a rough, long 5 years. But during those years, I look forward to hearing your voices. It was comforting to know you guys were always there. Like an old shoe.
Darn.
That would be us. My son, Greg, was in my lifeline, and he hung on to me through it all. On November 7th, Greg will be 33 years old. He hit me in the mouth 5 years back, and I want to honor him by donating $133.33 for his 33rd birthday, and it will move him a little closer to his knighthood.
Oh,
Thank you for keeping us woke.
Oh, whoops. Okay. You had me up until woke.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that
she has it in. She has it in quotes. So
okay.
She's just kidding.
Good. She's good. Well, thank you very much. And if we helped you in that way, thank you. And I understand why you return this value. That's how it works. and I'm glad things
now,
are okay.
She's in Saginaw. I would recommend her hooking up with the local one, the Michigan meetup crowd.
Yeah, this is, as we were discussing earlier, human face-to-face communication is really good for you.
She'd love being in this group.
Yeah, I think so too. And she'd be welcomed, and it would be like a warm bath with candles.
Well, I don't know about that part. Onward, Trevor Merkin in Burberry, Burberry, France.
Yes. Yeah, Trev is British. I think. Well, actually, I don't know if he's French.
Trev is British. You're right.
I think he's British. Yeah, but Trevor's been with us a long time. I'm sure he's royalty by now, but I don't remember.
We'll call him Sir Trevor then.
Today we will.
Black Knight Scott, meanwhile, Baron of North Georgia, $113.57. Sir John Knowles, Baron of Murfreesboro, $110.40. Also says a happy birthday to Mimi.
Aw.
It's Mimi's birthday. By the way, the birthday that Eric, her son, put on the list.
Yes.
Is actually the 4th.
I know.
Not the 3rd.
You know, I changed it because I saw the newsletter, but then I was thinking I have to verify with John. Yes. Her birthday is tomorrow, not today.
John Robinet, $100. Baron Latikin, $100. Ben Bising in Waterloo, Australia, $99.
No, Blessing.
And he's also 33, by the way.
Ben Blessing.
Oh, is it Blessing? Oh, it looks like an I.
Yeah.
He's also 33.
Okay.
Interesting coincidence. Sir Rosses, 9009. Space Boob. Brandon Johnson.
This is new.
You know, the other funny thing about this Jimmy Garoppolo character? They take pictures of him. He's apparently got some fetish about women whose front ends, let's say.
Remind me, who is this guy? We talked about him.
He's the quarterback for the 49ers. Looks like a George Clooney type of character.
Right.
He looks like Clooney, actually.
Yes, the guy who can harass anyone because he looks good.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah.
Well, the women that he's seen dating always have what appears to be 2 weather balloons in a halter top, trying to get out. It's actually kind of like, what?
Science experiment.
Brandon Johnson is up next, 8888 in Essex, Connecticut. There's a long note. I don't know if he's got anything there. He's got some jingle requests we can maybe think about putting at the end.
Well, he wants James Brown, ISIS in America. Always a winner.
Yes. Bruce Blessinger, similar to the Blessin guy, Indianapolis, Indiana, 8008. Sergot Nate Sebastopol, 6969. Matthew Zielinski, 60. And here's a very long note you might want to look over as we go through this. And it's
I did read this. It's all about the microgrids. And, let me just say this. Thank you. There's a lot of opinions, a lot of information. People know a lot. And, of course, I'm not against microgrids. I don't think you are either, John. In fact, if it was a nuke in your backyard, that's basically a microgrid. Yeah, we would love sensible microgrids that actually give everyone power, not we'll keep your CPAP machine on and turn everything else off remotely because that's what will be required. So this is the only issue.
He comes in as DJ, uses the name DJ, and he comes in with 60.
Thanks, DJ.
Next on the list is John Monaco in Highland Heights, Kentucky, 5510, and he says, "Remember to set your clocks back."
Yes, sir. And we're on par now.
A little late for the recommendation.
Yeah.
And Anthony Rodriguez, double nickels on the dime. Sir Tom Dari, double nickels on the dime from DeForest, Wisconsin. Sven Eric Jansen, 5230. Thank you both for your work. He says he searched Ann Kitchen while listening. Call our town, Austin. You can read that. Eric Hokel in Mulrose, Deutschland, $52, and without all the crap from the Unicode in his name.
Yeah, nice.
Good. Thanks, Eric. He's Sir Eric Hokel, let's face it by now.
Yes.
Dame Tanya, the Viscountess of New York City, NYC, $50.42.
She has a note. She says, "I know you don't usually read the lesser donation notes, yet we do break for dames. But if you can please give health karma to a close family member that is having heart surgery on Tuesday, 7/5. I think she means 10/5. I would greatly appreciate it.
11/5.
Yeah, 11/5, yes. Assuming that goes well, I'll make an NYC meetup my top priority. Okay. We were saying, hey, where's the New York City meetups? Clearly, she's had some issues with health in the family. I've been wanting to do another one for ages, but New York City is a pain, mainly due to space and the noise levels in bars. Oh, okay. Hugs. Thank you very much. Yes, in fact, I'm going to give it to you right now.
You've got karma.
It's dames, man. Dames. Got to do it for the dames.
Sir, fuck that guy. $50. He has a birthday coming up. Fabrice Tashumi, $50. He probably should get a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
These are following are $50 donors, name and location if appropriate. Jeremy Cartwright in Rockford, Illinois, $50. Michael Janoski in Lindora, Pennsylvania. Bradley Ledden, parts unknown. Sir Brian Watson in Raleigh, North Carolina. And last but not least, Aichi Kitagawa over here in San Francisco. I can wave. I can see him. I want to thank all these folks for being the producers and helping support the show, and specifically show 1187.
And a big thank you to everybody under $50, which we no longer mention for brevity's sake of the show, but also people like to know that there's an absolute cutoff where they can come in anonymously, and we have a number of those. But a great idea is to be on one of our recurring payment programs, so you continue to bring us value. It can be $5 a month. If that's the value and that's what the value you can bring back, that's fine. Some people have 33s, they got 12s. There's a number of places, a number of things that you can do and participate in. And if you'd like to learn more about it, there's a very simple website you can go to. It's so simple, the kids can sing the jingle.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And we would appreciate as much help as you can give us for Thursday. Thursday, I will still be here in Gitmo Lowlands. What?
Yes, with a report.
I'll have multiple reports, a report from the 100-year radio celebration. I'll have a lowdown on Brexit. I mean, I got everything for your European needs are going to be right here. And for everybody else...
Not a minute too soon.
Everybody else, here's a goat karma.
You've got karma.
Yep, today is November 3rd, 2019. We're winding out the year. It's going fast. Here's the birthday list for today. Jason Zeisler, a.k.a. Sir Code Monkey, says happy birthday to his douchebag brother who turned 39 yesterday. Wendy Brahman says happy birthday to Greg. Greg was there for her in the tough times. He turns 33 on the 7th of November. Kevin Fitzpatrick celebrates today, as does Glenn Blessing. And Sir Fuck That Guy, also November 3rd. And we say a big happy birthday to Mimi Dvorak. She'll be celebrating tomorrow, and she still reads the newspaper without her glasses. Happy birthday, Mimi.
It's your birthday, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like a party it is. Your No Agenda meetups where you can stay even saner than listening to the best podcast in the universe. Go meet some people who have the same thinking as you. You'll find they're completely different backgrounds, ages, religions, upbringing, education, but you'll have something in common. Namely, your amygdala is the same size. You're not going to get tricked. Oh, you know what? The Boston guys. Let me see if I have it here. The Boston guys did a meetup. And popular now has become, and it's kind of fun, to sing the Gitmo Nation national anthem in the venue where you do the meetup. And it's great because they took a video of this. Someone tweeted it. And it's just in a bar, but there's, like 9 or 10 people. No, I think there was more. But at least 10 people. And this is what they're doing. And you can imagine that the other patrons are very curious about this group.
In the morning, Gitmo Nation, we are all charged up to be human resources and servants in all lands and all ships at sea, from east to west, down under to the lowlands and beyond. We are happy and distracted slaves. Hear our Gitmo Nation song in the morning. Woo!
All right. Another thing you'll have in common, apparently, is that everyone's tone deaf at the meetups.
Shit, they sing flat.
I love it. It's beautiful. In my ears, it's beautiful music. And today oh, wow. This is Thursday. Thursday, we've got a meetup in Myrtle Beach at 7 o'clock at the Sneaky Beagle. Rusty Jones is your host. Orange County, the No Agenda Meetup Part 2 at 6 o'clock on Thursday. That will be the revenge of the meetup at the Boss Cat Kitchen and Libations in Newport Beach. Crystal and Ryan Darrow, your hosts. On Friday, Nelson, British Columbia, 7 o'clock. Torchlight Brewing, Matt Burns organizing for you. Saturday, the 9th at North Charleston, South Carolina. 1 p.m. at the Rockabilik in Park Circle. Let's gather to dig in the park at 1-ish in their outdoor area. Dame Jennifer Buchanan. I wish I could go there. She is our, in fact, this is hosted by No Agenda Animated Studios. This is beautiful. That's South Carolina.
Animation Studios.
What did I say?
I had to change it. You said animated.
Oh, Animation Studios? Okay, thank you. Also on Saturday in the Sierra Foothills, Auburn, California at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, calling all No Agenda producers in Northern California, come to Moonraker Brewing Company in Auburn. Saturday as well, Southwest Ontario, that's Scandinavia, 7 o'clock. That will be at the Refined Fool Brewing Company and Burgers from Burger Rebellion. Gather near the large mural.
You're learning a lot of crazy names for bars.
I know, but I like the gather near the large mural. Then the Thursday on the 14th, Michigan Local 1 has their pizza run at 6:30. Spicy Slices, where you can build your own personal Neapolitano pizza. Youssef Hagazi is organizing. And then also next Thursday, not this coming Thursday, next Thursday, the monthly Local 512 South Austin meetup. And this time it's going to be at Doc's Backyard in Sunset Valley. This will be the second official one. Friday the 15th, Wichita's Cowtown Hoedown meetup, 6 o'clock. That's for Kansas FEMA Region 7 of Gitmo Nation. Come early, come often, bring your amygdala, swollen or not, at the Wichita Brewing Company. And finally, also Saturday the 16th, the Cincinnati, Ohio local meetup, 3 o'clock. The official, I got tired of waiting for someone else to schedule a meetup. Come to Fretboard Brewing Company for an afternoon of merriment. Baron Foxbat of the Cook Islands will be there for you. This is fantastic. This is the legacy of No Agenda. We
Baron
can go away.
Foxbat from the Cook Islands is going to be there?
Apparently, he's organizing it.
Huh.
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah, you get somebody from anyone. You get to see a tan that you can't get anyplace else in the world.
Exactly. It's the best tan, and that's your No Agenda meetups. Let me see. Do we have anything else to take care of? No, I think that's what we got. We're done. Yes. Oh, the pig swine flu, the swine pig flu, the Chinese pork flu.
Yeah, the one that's killing pigs.
Yeah, it's now called the pig plague. And
the pig plague,
which is, we could have come up with that. It's a better name. Scientists are saying 25% of all pigs around the world could die of swine fever.
Yeah.
Should we be buying pork bellies? I mean, should we be investing in something?
Well, I mean, pork bellies as well. I think when you buy pork bellies, you're buying an American. It's not like different. An international pork bellies that you're investing in.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I don't do commodities. It's too risky.
Okay.
Now, a couple of things I want to get out of the way.
Okay.
There's been some machinations. There's some old reports and followed by a new report.
All right.
And it has to do with what I think is going to have an impact on the United States, which is the the battle or who's taken over the drug business in Mexico.
Yeah, this is an interesting story.
Now, well, let's start with the older stories, which is this one. This is El Mencho, who I understood was taking over, and this is a CBS 2-part report on El Mencho.
Tonight, the
here's
DEA
part one.
is offering $10 million for information leading to the arrest of the Mexican drug kingpin known as El Mencho. He's blamed for a flood of narcotics into the U.S. And in tonight's Eye on America, Adriana Diaz takes us on the hunt for this dangerous drug lord.
It's just after sunrise, and on Chicago's west side, we're out watching the morning rush for drugs.
Yes, it's 7:15.
7:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
And there's people in the alley back there.
The seller's behind that boarded fence.
The DEA's Brian McKnight showed us what's going on in broad daylight.
There's literally a line. Now everyone's coming back out.
See, the guy's got his right hand, he's putting in his pocket.
Last year in Chicago alone, almost 800 people died from drug overdoses.
What percentage of drugs in Chicago do you think come from Mexico?
A significant amount, probably about 90%.
90%.
Yeah.
The DEA says this man is a major part of the problem. He's a rising Mexican drug lord named Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known simply as El Mencho.
He's the number one priority for DEA and frankly, federal law enforcement in the United States.
Matthew Donahue is the DEA's top agent in Mexico and has helped uncover dozens of El Mencho's drug labs in the jungle. El Mencho's cartel is responsible for roughly a third of the drugs entering this country by land and by sea. He has a $10 million bounty on his head. Ironically, he lived in California some 30 years ago, where he was arrested on drug charges and eventually deported back to Mexico.
This was during Obama's presidency, was it not?
El Mencho?
I think so.
I don't know that that's true, but let's play part two.
He's got an enormous amount of weapons, RPGs, 50 calibers weapons that basically has his own SWAT teams.
From shooting down a Mexican Army helicopter, killing 6, to being implicated in a public hanging this summer, El Mencho protects his empire with impunity. Back in Chicago, the Mexican drugs seized are so toxic they can't be handled without protective gear. At the DEA's lab, packs of cocaine are stamped with traffickers' brands, and more than a third can be traced back to El Mencho.
He's the one that's responsible for sending the poison that's actually killing innocent women and kids. So what happens when someone's child dies? Good chance it probably came from this organization.
Can you stay with me? Open your eyes.
This is the aftermath, an overdose in Chicago. This man survived that day, but last year more than 67,000 Americans did not. By flooding the U.S. with drugs, El Mencho's cartel makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year. The DEA says part of the challenge in capturing him is that he has entire police departments in Mexico on his payroll. Nora, as one agent put it, if El Mencho wants you to work for him, you have 2 options. Say yes or be killed.
Incredible reporting tonight, Adriana. Thank you so much.
Oh, just incredible, Adriana. Just incredible, Adriana. Thank you so much.
Well, he only accounts for 1/3 of the problem. I think El Chapo's kid, who they tried to arrest, is maybe responsible for a lot more. But let's play now. This is the more recent story, and it's not even about El Mencho.
Mexico's government is on the defensive tonight after police were forced to release a top drug lord when they faced a barrage of bullets from cartel gunmen. Errol Barnett reports the lawmen were outgunned.
Machine gun fire and billowing smoke, signaling a terrifying new reality for the people of Culiacan, Mexico.
No, mi amor.
Can we get up, says this child? No, my love, says this father, shielding his children as they hide from Sinaloa cartel gunmen. At least 8 lives were lost after 3 hours of chaos as the cartel set fire to vehicles in the street and took multiple Mexican security forces hostage. Amid a rain of bullets, civilians running for safety. This woman with a child in her arms. It was retaliation for the daylight capture of Sinaloa kingpin Ovidio Guzman, currently one of the most powerful drug lords in the world. After replacing his father, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, who was extradited to the United States and now serving a life sentence. The Sinaloa cartel overwhelmed Mexico's National Guard, federal police, and army to the point they relented and released Guzman. Facing intense criticism for the move, Mexico's president said today that decision saved lives.
This was an enormous humiliation for the Mexican army.
Mexico's former foreign minister tells CBS News the country is mired in crisis.
The mistake was to try and go and get him without overwhelming force, and if you don't have it, then don't do it.
Now, the cartel also broke out more than 50 prisoners during that firefight, with most of them still at large right now, as is Ovidio Guzman. And a senior American official tells CBS News the U.S., in coordination with the Mexican military, Nora, is aggressively looking for him.
Hard to believe all the details of those story. Errol, thank you so much.
Yes, very hard to believe. So they had to release the kid.
And then because there was so many bad guys, they bad guys opened the prison and let another 50 guys out to go nuts.
And this is south of our border.
Yeah.
Should we be concerned?
Well, I would think so. I mean, but again, it just adds to the drug problem because they just keep bringing the stuff in. I mean, it wouldn't be a problem at all if people had more.
Well, if the stuff wasn't coming in, that would be a problem too. I mean, we do have to be realistic about the drug trade. The 2008 financial crisis. Probably, we would have not survived it if we didn't have drug money running around. I mean, the drug money is big.
It props up the banks.
Props up lots of stuff. So in that regard, I can see why El Chapo's kid is more powerful than most.
Yeah. Makes you wonder if El Chapo's kid, who seems really powerful, I mean, the way they busted him out, makes you wonder if he had anything to do with his dad's being arrested.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's possible.
I want to finish with, I just got two things here from Deep State. Just unbelievable to hear what these two guys are talking about, both former directors of the CIA. It was a C-SPAN event, actually. It was about the security of our elections. It was on C-SPAN 2. Margaret Brennan, who's from 60 Minutes, was moderating. She's counsel on foreign relations, and she's no relation to Brennan, who is one of the two former CIA directors who were talking about the subject. And in fact, it went a little bit beyond just talking about elections. It went into the true deep state. I have the full question and answer from the first former director. This is the director. He was actually deputy director of the CIA during 9/11, and then in, I think, 2004, he was the full director of the CIA.
And the professionals that carry out their daily responsibilities in those places are going to continue to do what it is that they are expected to do. The reason why Mr. Trump has this very contentious relationship with CIA and FBI.
Did I do this? I did this the wrong way around. I'm sorry.
We might also mention that Margaret Brennan is actually
she's not related.
She's the Face the Nation girl.
Face the Nation. Yes. Okay. All right. Now we go back. The problem is they're both John. John McLaughlin is the first CIA director.
You'd have to agree that now the impeachment inquiry is underway, sparked by a complaint from someone within the intelligence community. It feeds the president's concern and often used term about a deep state being there to take him out.
Thank God for the deep state. I mean, I think, everyone here has seen this progression of diplomats and intelligence officers and White House people trooping up to Capitol Hill right now and saying, these are people who are doing their duty, who are responding to a higher call. It doesn't, well, think about it for a minute. With all of the people who knew what was going on here, it took an intelligence officer to step forward and say something about it, which was the trigger that then unleashed everything else. Now, why does that happen? What I tell American people why that happens is this is the institution in the U.S. government that, with all of its flaws, and it makes mistakes,
is institutionally committed to objectivity and to telling the truth. It is one of the few institutions in Washington that is not in a chain of command that makes or implements policy. Its whole job is to speak the truth. It's engraved in marble in the lobby.
So, more egregious than thank God for the deep state, which he said very easily, rolled off the tongue there, which makes it true. He also said, no, we tell the truth at CIA. We're all about the truth. And,
what arrogance.
And I looked it up. What is engraved in marble is John verses 8. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And here's John Brennan responding to the same conversation. That's the most recent director of CIA.
And the professionals that carry out their daily responsibilities in those places are going to continue to do what it is that they are expected to do. The reason why Mr. Trump has this very contentious relationship with CIA and FBI and the deep state people.
And you.
And he even says it again, the deep state people. This, I mean, for the first guy to say it kind of, you can take it as jokingly, but now Brennan is using it just in regular parlance. So, I mean, can we not take this seriously? I think we can.
With CIA and FBI and the deep state people.
And you.
And me, yeah.
Specifically you.
I've heard
He's
that.
targeted you.
Is because they tell the truth. Because they cannot be manipulated like clay in his hands. Because they will stand up and speak out when things are wrong. And they'll tell him what the truth is. And the truth he fears because he has lived on anything but the truth, not just during his presidency, but even before that. So thank goodness for the women and men who are at the intelligence community and law enforcement communities who are standing up and carrying out their responsibilities on behalf of their fellow citizens. So if he doesn't use their intelligence, if he doesn't use their contributions to this country's security, well, bad on him. But our people who continue to fight the fight in the trenches here as well as overseas will do their work irrespective.
I'm sorry. CIA is not allowed to operate on U.S. soil. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Well, he said they're doing it here, and they're the deep state. Thanks, John Brennan.
Security, well, bad on him. But our people who continue to fight the fight in the trenches here as well as overseas will do their work irrespective of what he is going to do or say about them. When they raise their hand in an oath of allegiance to this country, as Andy said, they have that obligation. It's a duty of their oath. And that's what compelled this whistleblower, whether he's from CIA or wherever, to speak out. It's what's compelled Ambassadors Ivanovich and Taylor and Colonel Windman and others to be able to say this is wrong. Mm-hmm. This is antithetical to the values that this country was founded upon. And unfortunately, there are too many people on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue in the Congress who hold their nose over what's being done. And until they realize that what Mr. Trump is doing is trampling, again, the foundations of this great country of ours, we're going to be in for a rocky road. So I just am pleased every day that my former colleagues in the intelligence community are continuing to fulfill their duties.
Which they're not supposed to.
Illegally, we might add. Does that have anything to do with yellow cake?
And let's just remind everybody how John Brennan sees the truth and the rule of law and the Constitution.
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
Exactly. As long as you're alleged, then you're no longer innocent. One observation. How can a former director of CIA protect... I mean, you would think he would protect himself. This mofo's wearing a Fitbit, and he's waving it around for everybody to see. And now with the recent acquisition, because it went through, Google bought Fitbit, all you need is Brennan's Gmail address, and you can get a lot of information about Sir Brennan, even where he is. These things have location. They got all kinds of stuff. What kind of a moron spy is that guy?
I don't know. It's a shameful character. Well, at least Margaret Brennan gave him a little grief. I thought that was good. But nobody called anybody out for spying on the American public against the law. for the CIA to do such a thing.
I guess it's just accepted now. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
You can go ahead. You spy whatever you want. I know plenty of CIA people. In my family, my uncle, they will be the first to say, yes, of course, that's engraved. The truth shall make you free. But they are in the business of seduction and lying. That's what they do. The whole point is to lie to get people to do things and draw them into stuff and set people up. That's what they do. That's what FBI does too. Not all, but CIA certainly. That's what spying is. Deception. But no, this is where the truth lives.
Well, that was a good one. I'd give you a clip of the day for that, but again, a little too depressing.
All right, then I just want to have one public service announcement for our Them's Name Ben. Network Solutions was compromised. You did not read about it. I received an email. I still have a few domains that are registered through Network Solutions. This is the old internet. This is the big Mac Daddy of domain registrars. And now I have a couple of legacy things. So there's a few legacy domains that are still at Network Solutions. And I also have a legacy Rackspace account where I think there's 2 small servers are running there. And and this is how I found out about it. I got the Network Solutions email, and then which I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not quite sure what the passwords are or whatever for these things. So I have to go and look at it.
You let them lapse.
No, I didn't let them lapse. They're still active, but
you let them. You lost track of them.
Right, but they still have my email, of course, and so Network Solutions says, hey, we were compromised, and they got passwords and all kinds of stuff. Thanks. And then the same day, I receive an email from Rackspace, a trouble ticket. Someone's complaining about me running spam servers. So I'm like, okay. So, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But lo and behold, once I dug into the interface, someone had set up 4 servers with solid state drives, and they were running all kinds of, I don't know, command and control.
Gear home?
I'm sorry?
I said, can you go get the gear and take it home? You can use some solid state drives.
It's on Rackspace. It's virtual. But here's the problem. Network Solutions being compromised is incredibly dangerous because even though you may not know who is, if you have a private registration of the domains, they immediately can find out so much that they knew to go and use. Apparently, I used the same password over at Rackspace, but they knew to go to Rackspace because all this is tied together. All these records start to mean something. You see? So they knew it was Adam at Curry.com. They had a password, coincidentally the same password, old password, that worked over at Rackspace, but they knew to go to Rackspace because they could see everything about my registration.
Sure.
I think this is a much bigger problem than it's not been reported anywhere. This is a infrastructure level hack. When people have your DNS, you got everything. And
bad.
I think it should be. I think it should be in the news.
No one's going to report on it because no one knows what you're talking about. The people that are writing about tech today
talk about phones.
Oh, I got a new phone. Let me unbox it. That's as far as you get.
This has been your No Agenda show. Sorry for going a little bit long, but we still will bring you a couple of end of show mixes. Let's see, what have I had lined up for you? We got ISIS in America. I think that's Secret Agent Paul. Jesse Coy Nelson, UK PMX, and Pyramid King Ruben with a golden oldie. Also, we have the Random Thoughts Halloween special show coming up on noagendastream.com. And I will be with you, John, and the rest of the crowd and the crew on Thursday, still coming to you from Gitmo Nation Lowlands. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, in the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where today's Zephyr was 8 cars and right on time. Daylight, normal time, whatever it is, or standard time. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday with another edition of the best podcast in the universe, the No Agenda Show. Until then, adios, mofos, and such.
ISIS. We will follow them to the gates of hell. ISIS. I feel good.
And fuck the EU. 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 And fuck the EU.
Also, I highly approve of the Dame Drive. We need more babes at the round table.
This is part of our Dame Drive, and he keeps donating for his daughter, which is really nice. She'll be there soon, I guess.
Dame Drive, it's a Dame Drive. Sitting at the round table, you need to come along. Dame Drive, it's a Dame Drive. And baby, you can be a dame.
Our Dame.
Someone's pressing buttons. Why don't I have sound? Who's got a hammer? Where is it? Where's the hammer? Is it on the... Go up on the other floor. I'll go down to the goddamn floor myself. Call fucking Phil Griffin. I don't care who the fuck you have to call. Stop the hammering!
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA